Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Alexiot's here. It's Sunday morning. So on Sunday mornings, we do our 60-minute style reporting on this channel, the Sunday Report. And today's Sunday Report is something we worked on all season long. It was a spreadsheet I made up over the whole course of the season, where after every single game they played, the Raptors, I named 3 stars and I kept track of it for the whole entire season. So this is an accumulation of the work from the whole entire year. In this report for today, I basically took my spreadsheet with all my 3 stars of the game and I looked at, things like how many went to each player. Like how many times was Pascal the 3 star of a winning game, and how much he was like a second star winning game, first star winning game, third star of losing game, third star of a second game, second star of a losing game, first star of a losing game, stuff like that. And then kind of looked at the trends within those stats, and also who accumulated the most stars throughout the whole season. And I have the rankings for that. So there is some interesting information in it, but also it's not very scientific. I have to give a preface before this report that this is all based on my biases this season for who I picked as the 3 stars. Obviously, we do this in our streams almost every after every game. We'd all talk about our 3 stars of the game. Gerald Naco the Nacho would have his, Monique would have her 3 stars. You know, everybody was coming in with their 3 stars, and they would often not be the same. So it is a little bit biased towards my predilections of what I think is important in a game. But most of what I judged on was efficiency, shooting well, and collecting good stats and comparing it in that way. So in some ways, a 3 star in a loss isn't worth as much as a 3 star in a win. So that's part of how I calculated it also, that if you got the top star, third star in a win, you got 6 points added to your total cumulative score for how you did for the season. And then if you got 3 stars in a loss, you only got three. So all the wins were doubled up in the point totals as far as when I added them to their overall score. And then I had to take things into account like the preseason. And some of those preseason games I did count towards stars, but I have them marked on the spreadsheet in blue to show that they were from preseason, so not as important. And then the one play-in game that we played is marked on there also in yellow to show that that was what happened with our play-in game against Chicago, who got the points for that. So let me see who you got, who's in here already. Seymour Pape is here. Sheriff Seymour Pape here early on a Sunday morning. Good morning to you, sir. Hope you're doing good. Okay, this is going to be good. Yeah, there is a little bit of trends that I did figure out from things on here. I'm going to tell you something. There are players on our team that are very important for us to win, for them to play well. And I'd like to see them play more and play better because they really do have an effect on us winning. And there were 2 players in particular that it showed that we need out there as much as possible, because when they do well, we win. Let's just put it that way. And I'll reveal that very soon. Mike's here. Good to see Logical Raptors Fanatic. Mike is in the house. Sharing the love from Mike yesterday. Check out his channel. Saw you drop your clip from yesterday. I got really busy in the afternoon, but I will be checking it out very soon, Mike. Always good to see you. Go Nuggets, go. Murray is a dog. All right, let's talk about the playoffs last night real quick. Jamal Murray still on fire when he came into the game last night against the Lakers, absolutely dominating them from the start and getting 30 points in the first half of the game last night. And the Lakers really never recovered. This is basically a team versus a collection of guys, is basically what I'm saying. The Nuggets are a real team. They have real connections and real kind of things that they building for years. Honestly, some of those guys have been playing together there for quite a while. They really know each other. Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, even Aaron Gordon has been there long enough to really get really in touch with each other and really know what each other does. And the way that Jokic plays is very team oriented, and it fosters team play in a really, really good way. And that's what we're seeing. The Lakers can have LeBron James. The Lakers can have Anthony Davis, but it doesn't matter because their team scheme doesn't add up to the great team efficiency of the Denver Nuggets. Once again, we saw the Lakers get an abundance of free throw trips to the Nuggets, and it didn't matter. They still kicked their ass and beat them, and they're up 3-0. And I love it. I love it so much. In fact, Kurthika from TSN, the great Kurthika with her stats, is saying on Twitter today that the Lakers have never won a playoff game after going down 3-0. She's putting on blast an ESPN stat that once they are down 3-0, they don't even win after that. They just go off into the night, swept out. So some people are saying that, the Lakers may get swept out on their own home court Monday night. So that could be very, very interesting. Good job, Nuggets, taking care of business. That's great. This isn't what the NBA wants, but oh well. And Scott Foster getting punched in the face in the middle of the game, getting a bloody lip. LeBron running into him accidentally. And it's funny because they did another one of those things last night with the NBA refs live tweeting on Twitter during the game. And they're talking about how they show the exchange after the collision between Scott Foster and LeBron James. And Scott Foster and him are talking. He said, this is an example of the respectful discourse between the referees and the players that is common in NBA games. And it's basically showing LeBron coming, are you okay? And he said, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. It's nothing. It's nothing but a flesh wound. Scott Foster wiping his blood off his face. And LeBron's like, no, seriously, you're going to be all right. He's like, man, I'm going to be fine. Don't listen. Oh, I'll be fine. It was a hilarious little moment and peek inside the world of NBA referees and the players. Yeah, in some ways, I got a little more respect for Scott Foster, taking one on the chin and continuing to play. They could have continuing to ref. They could have easily went and got the alternate from the back and brought him in instead for an injured Scott Foster. But of course, they didn't manipulate it enough to what Adam Silver would have wanted because the Nuggets won. Lakers Nation and Boston Nation really eating humble pie right now so far in the conference finals. I love it. I love it so much. And today, of course, Miami and Boston in Miami. Boston, you're in trouble. Seriously. Like, yeah, you're going to Miami to play Jimmy on his home court. Yeah, good luck with that. Here's our referees for tonight. Let me just get this out of the way while we're here. Tony Brothers is the crew chief for the game in Miami today. Kevin Scott is the second ref, and Curtis Blair is the third. Tony Brothers slightly favors the Boston Celtics, but just slightly. I mean, very, very, very little slightly. He has 2 more wins for the Boston Celtics over the Miami Heat, but their records are very comparable. So Tony isn't too swayed to Boston's side. He's very much down in the even, really. Kevin Scott, though, he very much favors the Miami Heat. He has a higher win percentage for the Miami Heat historically in his refereeing career. And Curtis Blair, the last ref, very much heavily favors the Boston Celtics. So this crew is actually very even, with Tony Brothers kind of being the middleman who could go either way. So a very even ref crew, maybe one of the most balanced ref crews we've seen so far this playoff. We have not seen very balanced ref crews, let me tell you, but this one actually is balanced, the one for today. So this should be very interesting. All right, let's see what else you guys are saying here in the chat. Always good to see such a great group of Raptor freaks first thing in the morning. G is saying Malone is a good coach. He is. Michael Malone is a kind of coach I wish we had on our team. The son of the original Raptors coach, Brendan Malone. Michael Malone's son has really grown into being a great coach. And listen, he's done this on the job learning for many years now. We got to remember that the Nuggets have been in the playoffs and they've had failures over and over again. Well, he's in development just like Jokic would be, and they're all maturing kind of at the same cohort speed, which is really cool. It's like the coach is with his players in their growth at the same time, and that he's really growing into this role. Now, if they win the championship, this is fantastic. And you're right, G. Coach Malone is a great coach. He's a great coach on the court with his decision making, his scheme of plan, the way these guys play it. It just fits these guys so well with their personnel and gets their strengths out there in the best way, especially Jokic. And then not only that, we like how he acts in the press conferences. Very much standing up for his players. Tim, the media, to put more shine on people like Jamal Murray and his team and start respecting them. And I think that they're right. I think Jamal Murray has been a slighted superstar in this league for a while, that he has put up huge numbers in the playoffs in years past, but people kind of just gloss over it and don't really look at him. Quite often, he is not involved in all-star votes or in all-star games. Quite often, he is not included in all NBA considerations. And I think that should change. I think that should change starting now because Jamal Murray is a real one, and we're seeing it on the biggest stage of all, where everybody has to watch him because they're the only game on, and he is the only show to watch in the first half of that Lakers Nuggets game yesterday. Yeah, Jamal Murray, put respect on that Canadian man's name. That's right. It's time to respect Jamal Murray, NBA, and give him the accolades he deserves. That's what I'm saying right now. Yeah, Trevor J saying, good morning. The Lakers look like they're going to get swept, and there will be singing. Yeah, I love that. The song Hit the Road, Jack. Ooh, singing hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more. What you say? Yes. I love it. I love it, Trevor. You got me singing karaoke this morning. I'm all about that. Put the requests in. I will sing a song, especially when I'm seeing the Lakers getting swept. Woo! Yeah, I will. Evelyn's here. Good to see Evelyn. Hello, Raptor Freaks family. Happy Sunday. It will be Heat versus Nuggets. It could be. It's looking like it, Evelyn. It's looking like it. I'm all about it. I love that matchup because I can't lose. Those are the two teams I'd love to see either one of them win. I kind of want the Nuggets to win more in some ways, but if Lowry wins another championship, that will make me very happy. No Celtics and no Lakers. Thank you. You guys can get on out of the playoffs next. Yeah. Monique is saying, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, Monique, Superfan Lawrence. So happy to see you all, as always, in the morning. And I will share the links to the spreadsheets, y'all. Let me get that ready in just a sec. Isaac saying, Lakers are no stars. All right, getting back to my spreadsheet here. Isaac Campbell talking about this. All right, so let me first share the link for you guys with the original document, the one that I was keeping track of everything for the whole season, that I would read off of when we were talking about the 3 stars. I'm gonna put that link in there. Now, if you look at this, it's got everything dated and the matchups. It's got the first, second, and third star columns, and then it has like whether we won or lost, and then I have the little green boxes for games that I actually was in attendance at. So you can see I was at 6 games this year, and we were 3-3. And the games that I went to, it was really weird. I was looking at this and I'm like, you know what? The games that I went to with Adriana, we won. And the games I went to with like Steve and the guys, and then the preseason game we went to against Chicago with Sue, we lost. So if I go to the games with just Adriana, we win. So I think I need to go to just the games with Adriana. I'm sorry, y'all, because when I go, the 3 times I went with Adriana this season, we always won. So I don't know. I'm very superstitious like this, but that's my spreadsheet for the thing. And you can see I took it and basically accumulated it all up and added each like part of it, and I came up with scores. So this is the spreadsheet that I actually made yesterday. That is off of the one that I just shared. So here's the second spreadsheet, and it has the results of what I found. So basically, the number 1 star of the year is Pascal Siakam, and that makes sense. Pascal would be our number 1 star, the guy who got the most 3-star wins. He had 11 for the season. There were 11 games this year that we won where he was absolutely the top star. There were 9 games where he was the second star, and there were 6 games when he was the third star. Now, he had the most star losses also, 14 games that we lost where he was the top player. So we can look at that and say, oh, crap, we lost more games where he was the top player than we won. But then, you know what I did was I added up all of the star losses and star wins, and I made a plus minus column. And he was net +5 for he had more games that we won than we lost when he stepped up and played really well. So we won 5 more games than we lost with him being in the 3 stars. So it's kind of like Siakam, you can see where he had like really good games. And of course, he had the first star and the loss to Chicago in the play-in. So he gets that yellow box on 3-star loss. So Fred was second. And Fred also had a net positive plus minus. He actually had one more game than in the wins than the losses on his. So the ranking goes like this: Pascal number 1, Fred number 2, OG number 3, Scotty 4, Gary 5, Chris 6, Precious 7, 8, Jakob, and that's really impressive because Jakob only showed up for like a third of the season, and he's eighth. Delano, number 9. Thad Young, number 10. Malachi, 11. Will Barton, really because he had one game where he played really, really well against Charlotte, is number 12. Koloko, 13. Wancho, 14th. Jeff Doughton Jr., 15th. Josh Jackson gets some points for his preseason. Kem Birch, Otto Porter Jr., Joe Weezy, and then Ron Harper, who did not score any stars this year, but I put him on the spreadsheet just to have 20, and he was a part of the team and he was around, so I put him at the bottom. Now, the interesting people with the plus minus are two of them. It's OG and Christian. And OG, we lost OG for a section of the year when he was injured. But really, what told me is like we won 9, like his plus minus is a +9, meaning he had like 9 more games where we won, where he was stepped up and he was a big part of it. And that says something to me. Like I want OG to be more of a focal point because when he is somebody who's playing well and doing really big, we often win. And that is part of the trend I'm finding from this research that I'm doing. I can't make too specific observations on this, but I can say in general, it looks like when OG's available and he's not hurt and he can play at a high level and he contributes to our team at a high level, we often win, is what I'm saying. And that kind of feels right? If you think about this season when OG wasn't around in certain games, we missed his two-way action of being such a great defender. Obviously, that really hurt. And then even this year, we really missed his offense. That he was a really steady force on the offensive end with his pretty good three-point shooting, his slashing and driving, and just in general stuff. So OG in some ways really is the key to our success, at least from my research yesterday, that he needs to be on the court, he needs to be playing, and he needs to be getting the ball. And that's something that I found from what I did yesterday. Now, the other one on a more same kind of effect, but on a lesser level, is Christian Koloko. That when we did play Koloko, when he had big games, it was always in wins. And that's what I'm saying. He had three 1-star games, and they were all in wins. He didn't show up in any of the losses because he probably didn't get to play that much. But that's somebody I would like to see get to play more also. Because when Koloko makes a strong effort and contributes, that usually adds up to a win also. So from my research, my two main findings are really that OG and Christian Koloko should be a big part of our future and what we're doing and trying to do on the court, that we need to play these guys because they add up to winning. That is my main conclusion from what I did yesterday, OG and Christian. Now, I'd also showed that as much as people deride Pascal and Fred, they actually are net positive stars on our team for like winning. And, guys like Scotty and Gary are not. Scotty had really good games and losses quite often. And same for Gary. Now, is this a symptom of them not being better players? No. It may be a symptom of them just stepping up when nobody else is stepping up. There were a lot of games this season where it seemed like Gary was the only one who could hit any shots, and he was carrying us. So this kind of is not a really good indicator for something with the plus minus on those guys, because it's kind of just showing that when everybody was kind of shit, they were the only ones who could actually still play at times, Scotty and Gary. So that's the way I kind of interpret that part of the spreadsheet. It's not necessarily bad that Gary's a -6. It just means that he had to step up when we were really not playing well, and he played well when nobody else did, is basically what I'm saying. So yeah, that's the work I did on the 3 stars. I don't think there's any real surprises. I think that we all knew that Siakam collected the most stars this year, and that that this rankings is not far off from what we thought. Are there any surprises to you guys in the comments as far as who the ranking is? Like Pascal, Fred, OG, Scotty, Gary, the top 5, and then Chris, Precious, Jakob, and Delano and Thad are the next 5 on the list. So this isn't the most scientific approach. I can't really make concrete assumptions. I can kind of infer and maybe kind of read into it from my own personal observations, which is seeing what happened this year and then looking at how this all went. Because in some ways, it's not totally fair to just say, oh, Scotty's a -5 plus minus with he was better in 5 losing games than more losing games than winning games. That may just mean that he was trying harder when everybody else was crap. and he was working really hard out there. So very, very interesting stuff. If you guys want to look at my work, the links are in the comments, and you can go look at my spreadsheets a little bit more closer. Let's see. Shere Khan's here. Good to see Shere Khan. Raptor Freak Rookie of the Year. Shere Khan stepping into the arena once again. Let's see what he's saying. Good morning, Raptor Freak family. Missed the last few live streams, but here today. Nice long weekend for more Raps talk. Things getting interesting with trade talks. Best time to move Pascal or OG, but still sad to see them go. Well, I'm not going to even say those names anymore. The signals are all pointing to that those two guys are safe. They're not going to get moved. It's going to be Fred. I think it's going to be Fred at this point, Shere Khan. That it's just everything, the writing's on the wall. There's certain things that are happening right now with this team. They're really starting to point to that. Now, these other guys, look, I'm going to go do a social media watch right now. And I'll tell you that these guys are putting Raptors on blast. And, OG could get moved, but I don't think so, especially from what I just talked about with my research from yesterday. This dude is important for us, and he needs to be on our team because of his two-way style, and that he's a really good player. And they may be, Portland may be amping up their trade talk and stuff like that, but I don't think that we're going to do anything with Portland. We kind of talked about this in recent days, Shere Khan, that I don't really like that third pick. The third pick is not a good pick to get, and that I'm not interested in talking to Portland Trailblazers right now about what they're trying to do with their third pick right now. It's not worth it. In a lot of ways, people are like laughing about, like, you want us to trade Siakam to you for the third pick? Yeah, right. Let alone OG. Yeah, nah. So I don't know if it's those two names. In fact, we're signaling more and more that Siakam is our franchise player. He's not going anywhere. And OG's a little bit more mysterious about his status with us. But I've also heard Masai say in this summertime that he's untouchable, just like Scotty. So we've gotten kind of like a couple of clues that there are certain Raptors that aren't going to be leaving, but Fred is one of them. I think Fred is the one who's going to be leaving. That it's really showing more and more that it does look like the Fred haters will get what they want, and that Fred will be a part of a sign and trade to some other team this summer. I don't think OG and Pascal are leaving, though. I really don't, because Pascal's got all these. There's a lot of tells that are saying that Pascal's not going anywhere. And then OG is not as much out there, but I do remember Masai saying I think near the end of this year, right around there, that OG's not moving either. That there was a rumor that he was telling people, yeah, don't come and inquire about OG. I'm not trying to trade him. I'm not trying to move him. So Seymour saying, is that Nick Nurse news with the Sixers true? Yes, it is, Seymour. Unfortunately, it is very true. And he should be going there to interview this week. That's why I was kind of cussing him the other day. That's why I called him and said, Nick, what are you doing? Like, you're not even like apologizing, or not apologizing, but just not having the respect to the city to say goodbye to Toronto and the fans. But you're going to go ahead and go start interviewing with our arch rival, the Sixers. Yeah, you go ahead and do that, Nick. And we'll draw the lines a certain way, and you'll see what happens. You'll see what happens. I wish he wouldn't hurt his legacy with us and the championship that he won here by kind of going out like a punk like this. If you're going to go interview with the Sixers and take that job, you should need to say goodbye to us first. And I don't think he has yet. All these other coaches have been classy. Doc Rivers, Monty Williams, Mike Budenholzer. They have said something, a letter, or had some sort of release saying, thank you, city of Milwaukee, for the good times and the championship. Thank you, Philadelphia and your fans, even though Doc Rivers probably shouldn't be thanking them for like slandering him left and right the whole time he was a coach there. But they still were big enough people to thank the cities and the franchises and the fans when they left. And Nick has not done that yet. And I'm really kind of pissed off at him for it, because he doesn't look classy. It's kind of slighting us. And, Nick, seriously, you want to get in that list with Vince Carter? I'll put you in that list with Vince Carter. Seriously. Disgraced Raptor people that left our team. That's what I'll do. Oh, seriously, there is a list, and Vince Carter and Chris Bosh are on that list. If you want to be on that list with them, Nick, you can get on that list real quick. It's much better to be on Kyle Lowry or DeMar DeRozan's list than it is with those guys. Trust me. Yeah, G saying after tearing his ACL, Jamal asked Malone in tears if he was getting traded because he was damaged goods. Coach said, no, you're ours, and we are going to help you. you will come back better. And boy, was Coach Malone right. And listen, this is how it all pays off and redemption. And he was scared, and they stood beside him, and now he's paying them back in huge dividends to help them get to where they're going right now. And he could be the reason why these guys win a big championship. It may be tough to figure out if Denver Nuggets win the championship, who the finals MVP should be. Because in some ways, you could make a very strong argument that Jamal Murray may need to get this over Jokic in some ways. Seriously, Jokic has got those MVPs for the regular season. Give Jamal some shine and let him be the finals MVP, especially if he puts down a 50 piece somewhere in the finals somewhere. Woo-hoo-hoo, you may have a hard time figuring out which one of those two guys would be finals MVP if they win and they're both playing at a high level at the end of the finals. So yeah, it could be very interesting, that aspect of things. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself. They got to beat the Lakers, and then they got to face whoever's going to come out of the East. But that is an interesting thing to think about. Who would win MVP between Jokic and Jamal? Seriously. Monique is saying Seymour. Yes, it is. It is true. It's very true. And it makes sense. He's not only just interviewing there, he's interviewing with Milwaukee. He's interviewing with Phoenix. He is not just interviewing with Philadelphia. He's going to all those other jobs and seeing if he's going to fit. And we may hear he gets hired first out of everybody. It could be as silly as this. It could be like, in a couple of days, he goes and interviews with Philly. Philly says, yeah, you got the job. And then boom, on Wednesday, we're going to hear Nick Nurse is the new head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, possibly. And then he will be somewhat dead to me to a degree. Yeah, he will be. Seriously. And he will be the enemy. And I will not have a lot of nice things to say about him. Seriously. So that's how it's kind of going to go here. It could go real ugly, Nick, if you don't smooth over things a little bit. Now, take a job in the Western Conference. It's probably smarter for you. It'd be real nice maybe to see you and Fred reunite out in Phoenix. And don't go near the Sixers or the Bucks, because you're going to see the Raptors way more often. But if you want that smoke, you go ahead and go there then. We'll give you that smoke next year. And we'll come right at y'all with a grudge match with you and our former coach coaching another team in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, make that decision smart, Nick Nurse, because you may get a grudge match. You may get a grudge match real quick if you pick an Eastern team. That's right. Let's see. Mike's saying the Nuggets are built up properly. Over years, elements have been tested and improved. The losses were addressed each year, and now healthy, we are seeing that they have the pieces to win the chip. There you go. See, they had a plan for years now, and they really did have a centerpiece, obviously their center. And they had some key people they knew were right. And they just tinkered with maybe some of the role players around it. They tinkered with maybe some of the systems they were running, but they didn't scrap everything, just throw it right out the window. Even when they failed miserably in the playoffs in past years, they kept working on it and they didn't get rid of it. They kept working on it and working on new drafts of it. And they finally got the right mix of the system, the personnel, the luck with injuries, and boom, this is what happens. You get a good run in the playoffs, and that's all you can ask for as an NBA team. And I like that they stuck with this. That's what I'm saying. You stick with things and you don't give up on them and switch and keep switching over and over again. You never give time for something to take and actually work. And that's why the patience of the Nuggets is very much paying off right now. In fact, they've been more patient than most franchises in this entire league for a couple years now, and it is really, really paying off at this moment. Great comment, Mike, and you're dead on. Seriously, they did do this exactly right, and you can tell because you're watching them, and you can admire and see the kind of little, not too big things that they did. It's just like maybe, going and getting Aaron Gordon at a certain point and getting him to fit in with them. Going and getting a couple of bench players like the Brown guy right now. That is something crazy. Getting him from the Nets this year has really worked out. And he has been a great, more recent piece added to the mix for them that's really helped. So they have built this up. They didn't destroy it. And that's how we should be with our franchise. That we have some really good things going and it'll just click and get right when we get the right coach, the right components that are around the main players like Scotty, OG, and Pascal, and whoever else we continue to keep this summer. So, yeah, I love that comment, Mike. I really do. Shir Khan saying, to be honest, I don't want the Lakers or Boston to have more chips. They already have 17 each. Denver winning Would be a great story after bad luck with injuries past 2 seasons, and Miami would be the most underdog story this year. Yeah, Spolstra talking about how he loves the play-in. He thinks that the play-in is the best thing the NBA has done in years, and he's right in some ways. It's been very effective at stopping a few problems as far as tanking and different things like that. And it's also really given a team like his the chance as a flyer, and that shouldn't have even made the playoffs. Wouldn't have made the playoffs, and the old NBA would have been sitting at home, wouldn't even gotten a sniff of the playoffs in the old system. But because they were in the play-in system, boom, they could get in and get a foot in the door and really make go with it. Now, see, this is the thing. Once again, I could say that could have easily been us. Seriously, if we didn't have a dysfunctional coach and had bad team culture, and we were set up and things had gone the way we were supposed to this year, we could have gone on a path just like the Miami Heat. This is something that we said all season. It's like just get a foot in the door and just see how you can go and get how far you can get. And that's what Miami's doing to a T right now. Well, we had a team that could have done stuff like that if we had better culture and a better coach going on. Like if the coach hadn't checked out and stuff, if we were more prepared in that playing game against Chicago, took it home and beaten Miami, who knows what could have been possible? We may have been able to mess up the Bucks. We may have been able to kind of gone on a little bit of a similar route as the Miami Heat if we just figured things out better this season. So that's the lesson in this from the Heat is that any team, no matter their seeding, can be very dangerous in the playoffs now with the parity and stuff like that. But you do need to have certain factors like Jimmy Butler kind of dog and road warrior mentality that you can win on the road because you're not going to have home court, but you can see that you can still make a path and do it. That's what the Miami Heat are proving right now. And I love it. And that gives everybody hope for next year their situation that if they're the 10th or the ninth or the eighth seed in the play-in, you may have a path to get to the finals still. And that's pretty cool. I like that. I do like that a lot. Isaac saying Lakers are going to be swept out of the West and also lose Austin Reeves in the process. That's what I'm hearing, that he's going to price himself out on them. And they may not even have any choice over this because they're hamstrung with their salary cap, and he's going to be able to. Some other team's going to pay him more gladly, and they're just going to be priced out. Is what I'm hearing so far about Austin Reeves this summer. There's going to be movement even with all these great teams. Obviously, the Sixers are already getting pulled apart. With things like James Harden probably leaving. Fiercely saying, "Happy Sunday, fam. Love the energy from Coach Malone. His empathy, his passion, and how he supports his players." That's right. That's right. Yeah, he's admirable. In some ways, I wish he'd come coach us. He has a strong connection with our team, and he could easily come coach us if the Denver Nuggets fired him. Masai Ujiri could hire him real quick with his ties to the Nuggets, and also Brendan Malone's ties to him being his father in the Raptors. I don't know if Michael Malone has a grudge against us because we fired his dad after 1 year. And there may be a prestige because he knows his dad was the first ever Raptors coach, and like I said, it'd be kind of cool to have not only a legacy with like Gary Trent Sr. to Gary Trent Jr. legacy player wise, a coach legacy of Brendan Malone to Michael Malone. Hey, listen, if he is out of a job, I want Toronto to seriously consider getting Michael Malone at some point. But he wins a championship this year, well, he's going to be in good shape with the Nuggets for a while, I'll bet you. Seymour saying, "Wow, yeah, good morning, Raptor Free Crew from Cool Cat. Cool Cat is in the house saying good morning. And Leslie's here. Leslie Hard, always good to see you, Leslie. Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Denver looks so strong. LeBron will want to save face and win one game. Maybe it would be better for Denver to win at home for their fans." Okay, could see that. Well, they're saying the statistics show that once the Lakers are down 3-0, they don't win another game. They just roll over and get swept out, is what has happened historically when they're in this situation every single time. I think 8 times before this. So who knows? You could be right, though, Leslie. And I think that LeBron has some pride. And, the Nuggets have been so overwhelmingly good, they may have a little bit of a slight dip in quality of how they play it. In one of these games, maybe not. They're just rolling. And Michael Malone's so good at coaching. He's got them on them, not resting on their laurels. Teams often, when they get a lead or they get up like this against a team, they may have a letdown in energy or kind of like, okay, yeah, we're up. We can feel good. No, that's not what the Nuggets are doing. They're very much like, we don't care. We're going to just absolutely destroy them. We're not going to rest on our laurels just because we're up 2-0 or 3-0. We're going to continue to just choke them out. And I like that. I respect that a lot more than, like, kind of being like, oh, we didn't meet them with the same energy because we're up, because we're lazy. And but they're meeting them with the same energy, and they're just overwhelming them and beating them all otherwise anyway. So go Nuggets. Keep doing it the way you're doing it. It's the right way. It's very much the right way. Monique saying the spreadsheets are great, Lex. May I say it again? No problem, Monique. I like doing spreadsheets from time to time, and they're really good for illustrating different things and getting organized and stuff. And this is one of those projects. Like I said, this isn't scientifically very like accurate or anything, but it does tell something. I guess you can kind of see who stepped up and was like the best player in a lot of games the most. And the second spreadsheet is kind of interesting for that. You can kind of see the roles of the players and where they land. Like Siakam's obviously a number one because he has a lot of 3 stars, whether they're wins or losses. But in whichever column you have the most in, like Fred has got like 13 in the second star column, but he has 17 in the first star column. So in some ways, he's still a number one, but slightly into the second star. But you can see where, like Scotty, he only has 8 3 stars, but he has 15 second stars. So he really is kind of playing a secondary kind of player role on the team in some ways. Maybe in the next year, if I do this again, we'll see him flip more into the 3 stars where he is the number one guy out there leading the team and winning way more. So in some ways, I could maybe take this kind of stat keeping for the year and see how it changes for the next year, and kind of compare, well, this is how Scotty's role changed because he was more getting second stars in the game instead of third star, big star. And now, well, there you go, we can switch it around, and he's actually taking more number one option kind of stuff. Let's see. Marlon saying, morning all. Lex, do you think that LeBron is exhausted, or is it his athleticism is fading because of age and previous injuries as a factor? I think it's a little bit of all that. I mean, seriously. In some ways, he's already shown, like in the last 4 years, he is not the same player he was his whole entire career. He does amazing things, but in a lot of ways, he coasts. And in some ways, he's so dependent on other players on his team stepping up and playing well. It used to be he could do it all with carrying everybody on his shoulders. And that was a huge part of LeBronto, was he would do it all. And he didn't even worry about anybody else stepping up and taking responsibility. Well, this is the disconnect. This is the problem. He can't do it all like he used to and just take everything on his broad shoulders like back then. He has to count on people like Davis and Austin Reeves. And if these guys don't show up correctly, like D'Angelo Russell hasn't been, then it really hurts him, and he can't like just do it all like he used to. Now, to say, is it he's tired right now? I don't think it's because he's tired, because honestly, he's one of the guys who gets load managed this in the season, and he's used to playing long time. Maybe he's tired because he's not used to playing this deep in the postseason in recent years. Maybe, but I don't think it's necessarily he's tired. Now, sure, we could say it's because he's older and he's lost a step. I don't know if he's really lost a step completely though. But yeah, it's definitely that he's older. It's definitely that he's older, I think. I don't think it's because he's tired. Because he's that kind of guy that just never got tired his whole career. He's just always been so strong and available to games and just been around that he's not that kind of guy. I think it is his age. And I don't know previous injuries or it either, because this guy has not had a lot of injuries. He's been so lucky his 20 years in the NBA. His injuries, that he's just a phenomenal human being, physical wise, that he just doesn't get hurt. He's so strong. You saw how much he hurt Scott Foster just brushing up against him. It's like, what do you have? Like a knife on your shoulder or hand, LeBron? Because you cut him up, and he not only had like a cut lip, he had like a bruise on the side of his head too, y'all. Oh my gosh, it was like everybody who hates Scott Foster like that, even if it was inadvertent. LeBron got his lick in, that's for sure. Cool Cat saying, I kept saying OG should be our number two. Scotty and Freddie should really be Lowry's role on the floor manager and inject timely shooting. We would win more this way. Yes. And I'm going to support this more and more. I don't think that OG actually is upset about his role, but I would like to see his role start to expand and maybe be more important. I really would like to see him be more dual with Pascal. If he could be like Pascal on certain nights, Like if they could balance those two guys, kind of like Tatum and Brown are in Boston, that may be really good. Like we don't want Siakam to be the forefront, just number one dude. In some ways, he doesn't fit that role right. And what if he was like Tatum and he had OG being like a Brown for him? That would make things a lot easier. We need to start looking at OG as being like a Jalen Brown kind of like role on our team as an almost number one superstar who could be the number one superstar at any given night if Siakam is not carrying. And that's what I'm saying. He was already showing it. Siakam goes out for a couple of injuries in the last 2 years, and OG steps up and he starts playing in that number one role. Well, maybe with Nick Nurse gone, we'll have a creative coach. They can more effectively have a partnership between Anunoby and Siakam that really, really works really well, like Tatum and Brown. And I mean, that's what I want. I seriously do want that. And I think you're spot on with Fred, too, that he needed to be more like, he needs to be more like Lowry in certain ways and have, he is in certain ways already doing that, but, he could do it even better if he's going to be on our team next year. We'll have to see how this all shakes out. Of course, we got to see what the movement happens. Monique saying Bobby Webster was definitely keeping an eye on Cason Wallace. Follow my Instagram if you want quick updates on Raptors, etc. Yes, I saw that on Monique's Instagram last night, pointing out that Bobby Webster is sitting right at the sideline watching Cason Wallace working out the last couple days, very intently watching Cason Wallace. So I would guess that this is somebody that Toronto's very interested in for the 13th pick, possibly. Yeah, very, very cool footage. And thanks for sharing that, Monique. She's right. Follow her. Seriously, if you like the Raptors, you need to follow superfan Monique Lawrence. She knows her stuff and she's finding it and she's putting it on blast so y'all can see it. G saying, yeah, thanks, Mo. I looked more into him. Most physical perimeter defender in the draft and a great spot up shooter. Okay, so he's got good shooting. And you're saying he's a very physical defender? Like he's one of these guys that will come and meet the guy on the outside and like engage with them physically, like how Nick Nurse was trying to get everybody get into people quick when they come in anywhere near the 3-point shot. I like that. That sounds good. We do need good defenders still, but we definitely need that shot. If he's a really good shooter, that's the thing that's the most important. Fiercely saying, I'm surprised Gary Trent Jr. is ahead of Boucher in your spreadsheet, as I remember better plays from Chris throughout the season, but I get that Gary Trent Jr. hit important buckets as well. Great research, Lex. Thanks, Fiercey. Well, it's basically like this. Gary had more games where he was the number one, where he stepped up and he was absolutely the best player on the court. That's the big difference. Like if we look at the spreadsheet, it shows that Gary had 6 games that he was the number one player that we won. And Chris only had 2 games like that. And one of those games was in the preseason. So there was really only one game this whole entire season where Chris was absolutely the best Raptor on the court. And I gave him the 3 stars. Now, there's a lot of second star and third stars for Chris in there also, as far as like he got 9 of those. And he did really well. And like there was a stretch where he was really contributing like solidly in the middle of the season. But there were also periods of time in the season where Chris didn't get to play as much, and he just didn't get as much time out there. So yeah, it's close. And actually, they had the most amount of like win star games, but Gary had way more games where he was more like one of the top players in the game, and it was especially in like the number one role. You got to think about games where Gary scored like 30 plus points, and he was absolutely our best player on the court. There were a lot of games like that this season. He was hot and cold, and there were really bad games, but there were some games where Gary was everything, and he was just like, oh my gosh, getting almost 40 points. So that's part of it right there. But if you guys find any value in my spreadsheets, that's awesome. I appreciate that. And we did this work all year long. We were talking about the 3 stars after every game, and that's really where all this information comes from. I kept track of it and wrote it down. So, Nameless is saying these Siakam or OG packages are hilarious, bro. They better up the ante. Nameless, you go, Nameless. Buongiorno, Nameless. Always good to see you. Yeah, there are some ridiculous ones out there. There is some things about the Portland Trailblazers that could be attractive. I don't really like the pick. In some ways, if we're going to trade one of these guys to Portland, I want some of their young players. I don't want their draft pick, but that totally defeats the purpose of what they're trying to do. So they won't do that deal. It's like, can we get Shaden Sharp and Anthony Simons instead or something, and don't even give us that draft pick? Because in some ways, you start talking about those two young players in a draft, in a deal coming towards Toronto, I might like it more than just the third pick and a possibility of picking Brandon Miller. Gross. Nobody wants Brandon Miller at this point. And Scoot Henderson, I'm not big on him. And that's what you're really looking at if you're getting the third pick from Portland. And that's not attractive to me. It was Wemby or bust as far as this draft is concerned to me. And at this point, we just sit at 13 and just pick who we're supposed to pick and not move up. That's fine. Because it's like, it's probably not that much different, 13th or 8th or 6th in some ways in this draft. Let's see. Yeah, but those deals are hilarious, nameless. They really are. Some of them other fan bases are ridiculous. They're crazy. They think we're stupid, is what they think. Cool Cat saying the team should be anchored. Pascal, OG, and Scotty. Yeah, yeah. And the league is open. We no need to handicap our team. We retool, not rebuild. That's right. It's parity. It's more equal than ever. And in some ways, we had a very good, like mid team, 500 exactly, with a lot of bad culture and energy around it going against it. We get rid of that negative energy. We actually get on the same page. We start playing better together. It'll look more like 2 years ago than last year. And that's the big thing is like, don't give up on it just because we had a crappy year. There's so many good signs of things. We were a 500 team, even though with all the adversity, and we found ways to win, even when it didn't look like our coach was trying. And that's really says a lot. So we get a coach that's motivated and these guys get back to clicking together. Yeah, there's all kinds of promise and hope that we could get back to being a much better Eastern Conference team very quickly. And that last year was just a really weird year. It's just a weird aberration. Let's just put it that way. Name was saying up the ante. That's right. They need to up the ante on their deals. Don't be coming here with that smack. No, it's like I don't even want to answer the phone. Y'all are making us laugh when you call. It's like the joke hotline. It's like, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Let me do a little impersonation. Let me see. Hello, Portland. Yeah, let's hear what you got today. Okay. All right. This joke hotline? How much am I getting charged per minute? 1-800-JOKES. Okay, sure, Portland. All right. Oh, we're going to have to call that tomorrow. They have funny jokes every day. Shirkan saying, Lex, nice to hear you say that OG and Pascal staying. Orlando might be thinking of giving big money to Fred, maybe 33 to 35 million, which is crazy. Gary Trent Jr. may also leave for nothing, have to save money for the young guys. Yeah, I mean, I really am like, I can have my own preferences for what we do, but I'm not controlling anything. I really have to ride the wave of how things are going and really read into things. And right now, the things with Fred are not good. They're really, really not good in different ways, and things that I'm hearing and how things are matching up. And even like all the noise about whether, like, there's just certain writing on the wall with Fred that I hate to admit at this point. And I want to see what happens. I mean, I really do want him to stay. And if he does stay, I'll be so overjoyed. But if it doesn't happen, I'm ready for it also at this point. I'm not as worried with Siakam. I'm really not worried about Siakam going anywhere. That, like I said, all the signs are showing that there's no way Siakam's going anywhere. Rico Hines is still a coach on our team. We got Christian Koloko. We've got Jakob Poeltl on our team. There's all kinds of reasons why Siakam doesn't seem like he's going to be the one moved. And then OG, like I said, I heard Masai kind of say Scotty and OG are off the table. Nobody can get those guys. So there you go. Those are the three guys he's really kind of valuing the most at this point. Now, Gary's dad being at the Philadelphia practice facility a couple days ago does not bode well. Let's just put it that way. Why the hell would Gary Trent Sr. just wander in to the Philadelphia practice facility like he did the other day? Why? Why do you think? Why do you think he would walk? I don't even know. I don't think he ever played for Philadelphia. His whole entire NBA career, I don't think he ever was in a Sixers jersey. So he has no alumni connections to that team. So why the hell is Gary Trent Sr. walking around in the Philadelphia practice facility? You tell me why he's there. Yeah, you tell me why. So I don't know. If he's in Philadelphia, so be it, Gary. So be it. Nameless saying Nick Nurse is the pubic hair from the list. What? Whoa, that's a really crazy burn. That's a really crazy burn. For real, for real. All right. And you're with me on that, Lex? All right. And Nameless is saying, don't disrespect us fans like that, bro. We are the meal ticket. He's damn right there. That's maybe the most truthful thing. These leagues, these teams don't exist without us. And that's the thing that the league needs to understand. Adam Silver, don't get cocky and say, oh, we've had the best viewership ever. Even if your product sucks, you got to keep the product in good shape. I am hearing some grumblings that they're going to change the All-Star game back to East versus West, that they're sick of the schoolyard picking, and they think the schoolyard picking is contributing to the poor quality of the All-Star game. Well, I could have told you that. And now they are thinking about going back to the traditional East versus West. And who knows, NBA, maybe you should even make a stake for it so these guys really start playing hard. There was a trend towards like a better All-Star game when Kyle Lowry was taking charges a couple years ago. Everybody's like, wow, he's actually trying. And there's a little bit of defense. And it was a competitive game to a degree. Well, we need to get more of that back into the All-Star game because right now it's just some sort of weird scrimmage dunk contest that is not fun to watch. It looks like crap and it's annoying. So the East versus West is a good decision if y'all are going to revert back to that. That schoolyard picking was fun for a sec. It is really dumb too. Like it's childish and it's like there's no rhyme or reason to it. You don't have any really real way of like cheering on the teams because often you have different teammates on different teams and stuff. No, get back to the East versus West. That worked for a long time in the NBA. So doing that kind of stuff is smart because you do need to improve your product. Seriously, your product stinks in certain ways and you need to improve it in that area. That's for sure. Cool Cat saying Coach Malone made me cry when he made those statements about Jamal Murray. I didn't actually listen to them. I just read them. So I may have to go listen to them if it's that emotional. Holy cow. Yeah, he just seems like a good dude. And there's such an underrated team that doesn't really get any shine at all. They have been disrespected for so long. The Nuggets need their time in the sun. They need to go get that championship and get that first chip and feel good and get that city some real fun this summer. And like put names like Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic into the history books as far as being champions. I'm all about that. Seriously. I think that, I like other team nations that have never tasted that championship parade like we have. Go get it. And I'd like to see the Nuggets get it this year. I really would. Get that first taste. The first ever Denver Nuggets championship since they've been in the league since the ABA days. Now, they won championships in the ABA. The Nuggets won like in the ABA a lot. But since they moved to the NBA, they ain't won jack shit. And they need to win one here now. Yeah. Race Mode's here. Good to see Edmund. Edmund, check on your WNBA fantasy team. Go to ESPN and check on your team and set up your lineup because you need to get going. I think that you're actually beating Nako right now. But make sure you guys fill in all your lineups and make sure you get all the points you can get in your matchups. Right now, I am just trouncing West Coast Tyrannosauruses. Tom Duke's team 227 to 102. Yikes. And go check on your matchups. Right now it looks like MK's got a lead over Cool Cat. Monique is beating Fiercey. David is beating Bradley. And it looks like Edmund is beating Gerald right now, but you want to keep that lead, Edmund. Go check on your WNBA fantasy team. It's very easy. It's very fun. I'm enjoying it so far. It's been pretty cool. Let's see what else is going on. Edmund's saying, hello, freaks. It's been a busy week for me. I'm glad I can tune in this morning. What's good, Lex? Just enjoying the playoffs and the outcomes. I'm much happier with what's been happening in the conference finals so far with both Boston and Lakers being 0 for 5. That's hilarious. Seriously, if you told me that the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers would be 0 for 5 so far in the conference finals, I'd be like, no way. The NBA is too rigged to let that happen. Well, maybe they're trying to prove me wrong. Like everybody's saying, oh, you think the script is just written? Well, we're going to make it the other way. So to prove you wrong, they really want us to not think they're cheating. So, maybe they aren't. Maybe we will finally see a real good competition that isn't tainted by the referees and what they're trying to do. Maybe it's just that Denver and Miami are too good to be cheated against and lose. They're just too good. Jimmy's too good, and the Denver Nuggets are just too good. And they can't cheat to beat them, I guess. I don't know. Fun Guy's here. Let's see what he's saying. Hey, bro, what do you care so much about Nurse or let it bother you? He's gone and not with us anymore. We got a new coach coming and things to worry about future wise. Got to move on. Nurse says, no, he hasn't. Trust me, he hasn't. Seriously, this is a symbol of this. I know you're right in some ways, and I will give up on this at some point. But right now, we're in the in between period where there is still time that we need to figure this out. And what I'm saying is basically, fun guy, listen to this. All right, this is it, and this is exactly it. It's not professional. He's not showing a professionalism. I'm losing respect for the man because he looks really bad at this situation. He looks bad for the whole entire year. In fact, I'm pissed at him, dude. And you can tell me to be let go, but this shit just happened. And we just ruined and squandered a chance for Scotty Barnes and the other Raptors to go somewhere in the playoffs this playoff season because our coach was a piece of shit at the end of the season. That's just the damn truth of it. And I'm mad at him. I want answers to a degree. And then in some ways, I'm like, why the fuck are you so like catty and petty that you cannot make one statement towards the city of Toronto and the fans, like Mike Budenholzer, who just had his brother die and he got fired, and he still has the wherewithal in his mourning of his family to still write something to Milwaukee and make it all happy and cheery. Same situation. They won a championship in the recent years. And he's like, I'm so proud of our championship. I'm so proud of coaching people like Giannis. And then Giannis comes out and says, I love you, Coach Bud. You were an important part of my career. That's all sunshiny and looks good. That looks like a healthy like breakup. That looks good. Well, it doesn't look like that with us. In fact, it looks like Nick's a little bitch. And he's like a little in his feelings, petty little motherfucker. Like he really is an egotistical maniac. And that like it looks so bad. Like, especially since the Sixers fire Doc Rivers in the morning this week. And in like 3 hours later, Doc makes his statement. And he had just said the day before, I expect to be the coach of the Philadelphia 76ers next year. Well, you aren't. You're fired. Okay, thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you for cussing me out and telling me I'm a piece of shit and that you don't want me to be your coach for the last 3 years because I fail miserably in the playoffs every time. Thank you. I still love you, Philadelphia. See, Doc Rivers still can do that. That's what I'm saying. Monty Williams, no problem. Monty Williams, ultimate professional. Thank you, Phoenix. Thank you for everything. Nick Nurse, nothing. Crickets. Crickets. That just it reflects poorly on him. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to save his legacy with us in some ways because it does. It really reflects poorly on him. It's not professional. He looks petty. He looks like an egotistical dumbass, and that he's like in his feelings. Okay, well, so is Coach Bud. So is Coach Rivers. So is Coach Monty. And just as much as you are. So get over yourself. What are you worried about the Arkells? He's like, you can't be in the Arkells anymore. In fact, the Arkells had a new video that came out this week called Laundry or something like that. And I was like thinking about the parallels to the song and what's happening with Nick Nurse. Are they singing about Nick Nurse with the laundry and a breakup and all this kind of stuff? It was really weird. And I was just thinking about it like that. I don't know. I think Nick thought that he just had it so good that was untouchable, and he found out he wasn't. And he got hurt by that. He's like, oh, I'm untouchable. I am so good. I can do whatever I want. No, you can't, motherfucker. Messiah says you're out. You're gone. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. So, all right. I'll tell you this, one fun guy. When he gets a job and he takes that job, and then he doesn't say anything to us, then I'll be done with this. And he'll get what he gets from me. So this is what I'm going to say. He's going to be an enemy if he doesn't get his shit straight with us real quick. This is the thing. The players understand this shit. Why can't he understand that? Do you ever want to come back to Toronto in some ways and not hear bullshit from people? Nick, you need to smooth this over. The casual fans will still love you because they don't know, but people like me will understand just how bad you went out. And we won't forget. Seriously. People love Vince Carter. They love his dunk competition. They love everything about him, but I don't. I remember how he left. And I'm going to remember how you left too. And that's just how it is, fun guy. I'm sorry. That's just how I am. I'm the Raptor freak. I care about the Raptors. I care about our culture. I care about not getting disrespected in this league because there has been a lot of disrespect towards the Raptors in the history of the NBA. And I'm one of those people standing up for them against that kind of shit. And Nick, in some ways, is disrespecting our team and our city and our fans in the way that he's leaving like this, without making one little statement. I've said even he could just say, fuck you. Put it in the newspaper. Say, hey, Toronto, fuck you, Nick Nurse. I'd be like, I respect that. Okay, at least he said something. But going no silence and saying silence and saying nothing, no, I don't respect that. It's like he's a coward. It's like he got all sad and cried and ran away and he couldn't man up and just make one little statement. It looks so bad. It looks so bad in comparison to the other guys, the other coaches in the same exact position as him right now. It just looks so bad. I'll let it go when the time is right. Trust me, I'll let it go. And it'll either turn into, okay, we're cool, or you're an enemy now. It's going to either be one of those, and it's up to him. If he comes into a press conference on Wednesday and he's sitting in blue and red and he's in Philadelphia, I'm going to be like, yeah, he's dead to me. Fuck him. I'm serious. I will be like that because that shot's fired right there. He could go take one of the other jobs instead, but he specifically wants the division rival, the Philadelphia 76ers, to coach next year. Then, yeah, that shot's fired. And that means he is having a problem with us and that it will be a grudge match coming forward. So we'll have to see which job he takes. We'll have to see if he does finally make a statement at some point because he matures or what happens. But right now, he's not in my good books, and he could easily fix that. He doesn't have to do a whole lot. He really, really doesn't. I have a feeling Clutch is behind all this bullshit and confusion and advising him. They're really, really not advising him well. In fact, his career is kind of tanking in some ways right now because of Clutch's involvement in his life. I have that feeling right now. In some ways, he needs to maybe fire Clutch. It may be like that. Seriously. Mike's saying, Lex, you got my Fred VanVleet opinion wrong last time. Me saying Fred is the part of the process of Nick leaving. Fred was most likely the one who told Masai about Nick Nurse's issues, not doing certain things, and knows. Okay, I don't even remember what we said at that time. I know that part of the problems were that people had problems with Fred and Nick because that's what they were saying from the David Thorpe rumors from last December, the ones that I was like, fuck this shit. It's not true. Well, some of it was true. And what he was saying at that time was he would fire Nick Nurse and hire Earl Watson to be replacing him, and that he would get rid of Fred and OG, I believe, were the two names that he said were a problem on the team. And I don't know. I went into that and thought about it more and stuff. Now, the thing with Fred, it probably doesn't have anything to do with any of that kind of stuff. It just happens to do with what payday he's supposed to get this summer and whether we want to pay him or not or let him walk. It doesn't necessarily have to do with like his role on the team or how he gets along with other people. That's for Penn Sayre and other idiots to read into. What I'm reading into about Fred right now is just the writing on the wall with his social media, the way he's acting, the way that we're not really like seeming like there's like looks like there's a path for him to be back on the Raptors next season just because of the money and the different things that are going on, and the some of the other teams are lusting for him, like you said that or I think it was Shere Khan, like they want to pay him 30 million in Orlando. That's what I'm saying. We want to go around 20 to 25 and somebody else wants to give him 30 to 35. Go ahead, Fred. Seriously, we're not going to hamstring our salary cap and tie that much money into you in that way. All right, you really want to do that? You go ahead, and that's his choice. And that may be the real big problem is that he could get a bigger payday on another team, and he may not like the money we're going to give him. I don't know. I'm speculating right here. But I'm just saying the writing is on the wall with Fred in some ways right now. And I hate it. I hate it. It's not that I want him to leave. I really don't want him to leave. But in some ways, it's looking like that's the way things are developing right now. Let's see. Cool Cat saying Nick Nurse on the Lakers watch. Hollywood is calling. Well, let's look and see. Like this could be the thing. He could be very much rooting for the Nuggets to sweep them out, and then maybe hoping that they will fire Darvin Ham. Well, I don't see that happening. Even though, like, even if that happens, like where they get swept out, like if the Nuggets beat the Lakers tomorrow and they sweep them right on out of the playoffs in the Western Conference Finals, I don't think Darvin Ham's going to get fired still. I think that he had the most success with them in so long that they're going to be like, yeah, we're keeping him. And Nick may not get that job in LA. That may be the one he's hoping for. It'd be really weird if everybody's waiting on certain things. And part of it is that Nick Nurse is waiting to see if the Lakers will fire their coach so he can go and coach the Lakers. That would be really weird, but it's possible. Isaac's saying Denver has always doubled down and developed their depth. Now it's going to pay off. Raptors need to take notes. Exactly. Denver's the kind of team you should try and be more like for sure in the NBA. G saying the culture in Denver is good. Remember Aaron Gordon was a bit of a punk in Orlando. He's all business now. Well, in some ways he grew up as a person probably during this time period. he wasn't really a punk. He's just kind of, I don't know. Maybe he's a jerk in life, but he was always a pretty good pro. I mean, he does have some smack talking, and there were the issues with him and Lowry when we would play them when he was on Orlando. But I don't know. At some point too, like you get to a certain age in the NBA as a player, you kind of mature in certain ways, like right around 26, 27. So it could be that that's part of it too. Nameless is saying, I want Denver to win. They deserve to win, just like we did in 2019. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. As much as I'd like to see Lowry get another one, I kind of want Denver to win the most right now. I really do. Monique is saying, not Raptors related news, but I've seen on YouTube Doc Rivers is going to Bucks. Didn't really listen to it. So, yeah, I've heard he's a strong candidate for that job. That would make sense. He would fit. He has a connection to the Bucks franchise also. He played for them when he was a player. And, he's had some connections because of Marquette. That's where he went to school. So, him being in Milwaukee is a fit. It makes sense. I could see Doc Rivers being their next coach there. The thing is, with the guys that have been fired and the jobs that are open, they could really all just kind of do like a switch around, like really quick. And it may be kind of like everybody's kind of at high noon and they're all like ready to draw. It's like, who's going to draw first? Oh, you go first. You go first. And they're all standing there staring at each other. Who's going to draw first? And that's what I'm saying. It'll be really interesting to see which team hires which coach first and then how the dominoes fall after that. I have a feeling we're not going to be the team that hires a coach first, that it'll be one of the other teams that hires a coach first, and then it'll start to sort things out a little bit by little bit in different levels. Not saying that we're a lower level or anything. It's just in some ways, Masai may be smart to see how it kind of all falls down, like all the ways that it happens, and then capitalize on whatever he has to do in that moment. So it'll be interesting to see how it all happens. But once we see the first hiring, we'll kind of see how the direction's going to go in some ways. Like it could be Monty Williams in Philadelphia, and then boom, all of a sudden we're like, whoa. And then like Coach Budenholzer is in Phoenix, and then we're like, oh, where's Nick going to go? And then Nick's all of a sudden in Milwaukee, and are we hiring Doc Rivers? Something like that. It could be very weird like that. Let's see. Let's see what else. Fun guy saying, as long as we don't hire Doc Rivers, I'm good. Definitely need a Pascal trade. That's my number one trade. I hope this summer. I think it's time to move on from Pascal, unfortunately, to get better. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Seriously, everything is nodding the wrong way for that. It really is seeming like we're doubling down on him. He is safe. But if I'm wrong and it happens, okay, we'll have to see. But I don't think it is going to happen. Seriously, I think Siakam's pretty much ensconced here. Yeah. Name is saying, wow, appreciate the update, Mo. I had no idea. Are you talking about with Bobby Webster and Cason Wallace? Yeah, that was really good. Shere Khan saying Denver has really done a lot of addition by subtraction on their roster, getting rid of Barton and Morris to give more time to KCP, letting go of Bones to showcase Bruce was a nice development, smart GM moves. Yeah, we can get behind that for sure. For sure. They've been very smart. And some of it's luck also. Logical saying, not going to lie, the signals from the recent moves says that we're focusing on Siakam in this window. And with the Pirtle trade and now firing every coach, but Siakam's guys, Jim Sand and Rico Hines are P guys, no first. Yeah, see, Mike sees it too. We're really reading like the moves that we're seeing, and there's pointing to Siakam staying. And like it really does seem like that. Rico Hines would not be a coach still on our team if Siakam is in the plans to move. Seriously. In some ways, they very much are tied together. Very much. Very, very much. MK saying Jokic, Murray, and MPJ fit together very well. OG, Scotty, and Pascal are much more clunky. Losing Fred without a replacement is bad. I don't know what we're doing anymore. Well, I think this is how it's going to go down with Fred. If we do lose Fred, we're not going to have a void. We're going to get a replacement in return for him. And what I could see us doing is doing a sign and trade with either Orlando or Phoenix and getting their point guard in return. It could very well be that we get somebody like Cole Anthony or Chris Paul to be our point guard next year. It could be something like that. Is what I'm saying. It's like it could be very much we're getting a point guard in return in a sign and trade for Fred. So, because Masai's not dumb enough to just leave that position completely wide open with no good talent. If it's Phoenix, it's going to be Chris Paul. Seriously, Chris Paul may be in a Raptors jersey next year. And I wouldn't hate that because he's like very much like Western Conference Lowry. And he has his baggage and he has certain problems, but he could be very interesting. We got to think about how he was in the Clippers with Blake Griffin and the way he used to throw lobs and stuff. And think about our team with him on the team. I'm serious. Chris Paul's a more pure point guard than Fred is in some ways. And he would get some crazy alley oops out of people like Scotty and Precious. So I like the idea of a sign and trade with Phoenix. If Fred's going somewhere else to get paid more, I want a point guard in return. And it may be Chris Paul because they don't want Chris Paul in Phoenix anymore. And if they want to upgrade with Fred, well, it makes sense that they do a sign and trade with us and we get Chris Paul in return. So that's the way I kind of think is going to happen. We won't have an absolute void at point guard no matter what. Either we keep Fred or we get Fred in a sign and trade to get somebody coming back to us that will be an okay replacement, at least okay, if not a great replacement. So we'll have to see. Cool Cat saying LeBron is 38. AD is supposed to be number one. He's supposed to be a critical role player to inject winning ways. His team's failing him. It's a little bit of both. It's like the team is not the best roster. It's really in some ways, people knock our roster. Well, the Lakers are kind of built like the Raptors roster. Those bench players are not stellar, a crazy, amazing bench that they've got there. And then, you're right. AD should be the number one with LeBron being older, but it's not like that. AD just not consistent enough. He can be very good on certain nights, absolutely fantastic, but other nights he completely doesn't show up. And in some ways, LeBron's the most consistent star on their team. So he has to always be consistently there. But sometimes LeBron's not even consistently there. He has a bad game too. So there's a lot of different ways the Lakers can fail. And that's the problem. There's not as many ways they can succeed. They have to be so good to succeed. And that is part of what's happening here is that Denver has a lot of different ways they can succeed and they cover up their ways that they can fail. Well, it's the opposite for the Lakers. There's all kinds of ways they can fail and they have to be perfect to succeed. So yeah, it's that a little bit of that going on with them right now. Fun guy saying this is exactly what many were complaining of at trade deadline. The fact that there were way too many things to address, and here we are with no coach in addition. Franchise in a bad place at the moment. It can look like that and feel like that to a degree where some people in the Raptors nation, but I'm not chicken littling this. In fact, when we get in these kind of situations, when I'm in these kind of situations in my real life, I always make the best of it and always something amazing happens afterwards. So it's just opportunity. Change is uncomfortable, change is unknown, and it can be scary, but it's also the chance to get really good really fast. And that's why I'm saying this summer could be very similar to 2018 where we change our coach and we make a huge move and we have a totally new superstar on our team all of a sudden that it gets the enthusiasm of Raptors Nation going crazy by the time August and September are coming up and the season's coming. Everybody's like chomping at the bit to see the new edition of the Raptors because they're like, holy shit, they just got this guy and this is good. Oh, this is going to be good. It's going to be like that. So don't get too down, fun guy. We're in a good position. We can make a lot of different kind of things. And if you want to wallow in the mud and feel bad for us, okay, go ahead. But I'm not doing that. No, I'm not. Because I know we're going to be good next year and we're going to get this together. We're going to figure this out. It's just there's a lot of question marks right now. It's unsettling. And people are like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. Well, let's just enjoy the enigma of not knowing what happens and hope for the best. And don't chicken little this, man. You can think we're in a bad place. That's what the media wants to say. That's what they've been saying, but they're wrong. They just want us to be. It's not kind of like they want the perception to be that we're in a bad place, so we'll be bad again. But they just want us to go away and be a horrible team forever. That's not who we are. We're led by Masai Ujiri, and we're going to figure this out. Trust me. We could get we'll get this amazing coach, and everybody okay, maybe it'll be like Nick Nurse and be like, who the hell is this? What is this? It could be like that. But we see that we should have trusted Masai when he got Nick Nurse because it worked really well at that time. So I could see us making a huge deal. Seriously, there's going to be big names moving this summer. And Masai and Bobby will be smart and capitalize and move on one of those big moves and make it happen to where we're getting one of those big names coming here. Then you come and talk to me around August or September when the dust has settled on what has happened this offseason. And then we'll reassess how you feel about the state of affairs in Raptors Nation. It's too early to get worried or panicked. How about that? Now, if I start to be worried about it later after moves have been made, then we'll talk about it then. But right now, should be optimism, positivity, and the opportunity to go in a really awesome direction because things are changing, is the way I look at it. Cool Cat saying Nick Nurse broke Fred Van Vliet's body and his point of attack defense and shooting suffered for it. Well, I mean, Fred is at fault for that to a degree from last year. Listen, he overplayed when he was hurt. He didn't listen to his body himself. And he admits that he needs to be smarter with how he takes care of his body and not push it so hard. Now, sure, Nick maybe facilitated it with his minutes distribution for Fred, but Fred takes a lot of the blame himself. He said that a lot this past season. He said, I learned from last year about trying to play through being hurt, and I'm not going to do that anymore. Because if you think about it, in the second half of the year before this past year, he was very much half-assed for a long time, but he was still trying to force playing when he probably should have just sat for a while and really healed up instead of doing that. And then in the Philadelphia 76ers series, he wouldn't have looked so bad in that playoff series in some ways if he'd just taken a week or two off at some point instead of trying to play through the injury. And he knows that was his fault. He knows that in some ways he had pride and he wanted to show up and play no matter what. And in some ways I like that, but also it wasn't smart. It wasn't smart load management with his injuries to help us in that playoff run. So see, that's the thing. You can see all kinds of different little snafus that can derail you for the postseason. And that's why it's important to have Fred at 100% when you're going into the Philadelphia 76ers playoff series 2 years ago. And this year, it's like, okay, you need your coach to be tuned in and the players to believe in him, or you see what happens. You have to have a lot going right on your ship, not sinking, taking water on in all kinds of ways. And Denver has a really good ship right now that's sailing. And that's why they're sailing right on into the finals, it looks like. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Fred and where he goes and whether he's going to be with us or not. Mike's saying, I've seen Fred really push guys like Flynn when they play. I believe Fred wanted him to get more minutes, in my opinion. Maybe. I mean, they're weird when they get asked about this. They're like saying, like, oh, I'll believe it when I'm going to get less minutes or not. In some ways, they like that, getting them a lot of minutes because players just want to play as much as they can, and they won't tell you if they're tired or not. But also, it's like when they say, like at the beginning of the year, that Nick says, we're going to try and limit the minutes of our starters this year. Fred said, I'll believe that when I see it, Nick. You're going to put me out there just like you always do. And Fred was right. He did. He did put him out there just like he always did. So, I would wish he had played Flynn more. You're exactly right. And maybe Fred did want him to play Malachi more, but he didn't. And that's part of why Nick is unemployed right now. Jimmy's saying he really likes Scoot. Scoot Henderson's really athletic, like a specimen. This kid is strong. He's very, very strong, and he has some hops. But I don't know, Jimmy. Is he a jump shooter? Can he hit that three consistently a lot? Like he can be like a baller and hit the three like when he wants to. But is he consistently, fundamentally a 3-point shooter and not just an athletic freak? That's the thing. We want a shooter. We need a shooter so bad. And in some ways, I worry about Scoot's shooting ability to fit that need for the Raptors. If we traded up to get him, it may be going in the wrong direction of the kind of player we need for our team. G saying Scoot is 6'2" and shoots 27% from three. See, that's no good. His first year in the G League, he was shooting 17% from three. I'm not feeling him. Personally, want at least 6'4" and can shoot the three at a good rate. Yeah. Yeah, see, I'm with G on this. We've kind of already talked about this recently, but I don't mind talking about it again some more. 6'2" is not a tall enough guard in this league. If he's going to play point guard, he's not really a true point guard. He's going to want to score, and he's going to be like a scorer kind of slasher. And the assist may be an afterthought in some ways with him. So there's a lot of different things I don't necessarily like about his role. Possibly in things, but we'll see if the Raptors want to take the trade with Portland and move up to 3, that would be probably who they would take if Charlotte didn't take him with the second pick. That's the other problem. There's no guarantees. You could take that Portland deal and get the third pick, but Scoot may be number 2 going to Charlotte, and then you're stuck with choosing that Alabama kid. Fuck, we don't want Brandon Miller's. I know that. I know we don't want Brandon Miller. That's for sure. I'm a hard no on Brandon Miller. That dude's a knucklehead and he will just be problems. We don't need him here. We do not need him here in Canada. No, we don't. So I'm not about trading up to get the third pick because it doesn't make any sense, honestly, if you really think about it. Cowboys saying, good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Bam, bam, bam. OG is untouchable. Scotty needs him, and OG needs Scotty. They're here for the Raptors' future, I believe. Yes, Bradley. Check your WNBA's fantasy team and set up your lineup. Yes, do it. All right, let me just check in on Instagram with our Raptors. We got Ron Harper Jr. up first. He's wearing a nice red shirt that says Beyond, and it says gotta love it on there. And he's just looking smiley and happy. Ron has been, like I said, very active on Twitter, being very, very critical of the player who just transferred out of Rutgers to go into the NIL portal. Yeah, this is a very interesting trend, this NIL stuff, and it may be bad for college basketball. We have to see how this goes over the years to come. And I love that Ron has also posted something that's very Fred Van Vliet last night. He says, double down every time, bet everything on yourself. The only gamble is for those who bet against you. You go, Ron Harper Jr. I believe you. You're right. Now I'm on Monique's Instagram, and there's the picture of Bobby watching Cason Wallace real close. It says, looks like Bobby was from front court watching Cason Wallace work out. There you go, Monique, giving us the stuff. And also, here's a hot tip from Monique, real quick. This is another reason why you need to follow her on Instagram. If you're into the Hudson Bay Raptors hoodie and pants, it's that gray one with the different colored streaks going down with the Raptors logo right here. Monique is letting us know that they are drastically on sale at the moment. Get them while you can. Shop Hudson's Bay Raptors gear. You can get the whole jumpsuit for cheap right now, is what Monique is letting us all know. It's like a little birdie told me that the Hudson's Bay Raptors tracksuit is available for cheap. So go check that out if you're interested. And then she's got a really interesting, I guess this is some sort of stats on picks, and it looks like Kobe's name's on there. I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to look at that more deep there, Monique. All right, Chris Boucher has got a funny post. It's a little kid making a funny face where they're kind of sus about something. And Chris is saying, controlling my tongue is no problem. It's my face that needs deliverance. And I'm with you, man. I ain't got no poker face either. I'm feeling exactly what I'm feeling. When you look at my face, you can probably tell how I feel right now. And yeah, he's the same way. He can't hide his emotion. He may hold his tongue, but you will know how he feels just by looking at him. And we got Rico Hines. He's enjoying a dinner with some ladies. And then he's congratulations on signing. So proud of you. We have a young lady who's just signed with the Bobcats. Very, very cool for Rico Hines. And of course, he's got clinics coming up for sure. We got Thad Young. He gave $100 to his niece, and she is so happy. She's holding that Benjamin. And she's like, oh, it's my first $100 bill or something like that. Don't spend it all at once. All right. Thad Young being such a good uncle. And then he's showing pictures of his boys in the pool working out, getting ready. There's Thad Jr., and they're doing different workouts in the pool. They're really getting it in their workout there. And then there's a nice picture of Thad with, I guess that's his niece or somebody who's graduating. And he's got a picture of the family together, like celebrating there. Siakam is putting something on blast about Yuki from FaZe. He's talking about Emilia Romagna is a bad situation. I'm not even sure where that is in the world, but he's putting something on blast for politics. And then Siakam's also got him in a Red Bull campaign with the red umbrella. He's putting Red Bull on blast right now in his own way. Now, Scotty's very interesting right now. Scotty, first of all, a nice picture of him working out, saying, I can't be shy. I'm trying to show the world I'm major. Well, you are going to be major. You keep going, Scotty Barnes, with your workout. But he is in Cancun, or just south of Cancun is what his stories are showing, that he is in Mexico. And he is in the sunny spots in Mexico right now, getting on the beach and in the hot tubs and all kinds of stuff. Scotty, you get your rest on and get your Mexican holiday in the sunshine out there on the beach. And then Precious, very interesting. He put on blast that clip from that thing that we saw at Real Sports where he's sitting at the table with Christian and Scotty. And Scotty says, do y'all know about Riz? And Precious is explaining Riz to Scotty, and this is the whole thing. Precious has made an outfit. He showed the whole process on his Instagram where he had an idea for a fit, and he wanted to make it happen. So he drew it up and he showed it to a clothing designer. And then he showed the whole process of making the clothing, how they take the drawing and how they manufacture the clothes, and then they show him wearing the clothes on the street. And it's like, listen, I got to think about this. It's like, I know Serge does art. I know that Serge is a fashion plate, but is he designing the clothes himself? Or is he just going and buying them because he likes them? Because I think Precious is actually designing the clothes. And in some ways, that's really impressive to me. So go check out Precious's Instagram. He's got this outfit that he designed himself. He's showing his drawings of it and then how they made it for him, like in real life. That's so cool to me. So cool to me. You go, Precious, with your fashion design and making clothes. That's very cool to me. All right, so a little check in on the Instagram with the Raptors. Scotty's in Cancun in Mexico, soaking up the sun, and Precious is designing his clothes. That's awesome. I love it. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Fun guys saying Scoot is the most overrated crap. Oh, he didn't impress me at all. Doesn't come off as a Masai guy either. If we get that third pick, we better not in hell waste it on Scoot. Need real superstar talent. Ha ha, is Nameless saying. Fun guy, I can't disagree with you. I think he is overrated. I think he is very much hyped. Overhyped, because in some ways he's a name that's been known for a few years and everybody's gotten time to kind of pump it up and talk more and more about it. Well, when I saw him playing for G League Ignite last season against the Raptors 905, he was really not impressing me. In fact, he got thrown out of that game for a bad attitude. And in fact, when he was leaving the court, he said something to the fans and just like kind of had a piss poor attitude in some ways. So I'm like, I don't know, man. He's not the kind of guy I like either. And I think you're right. He's not a Masai guy. So yeah, I can get behind what you're saying, even if it's crazy. It's not, even if it's very like derisive of him. Most overrated crap. Wow, that's pretty harsh. But I think he is overrated. I'm with you on what you're saying here. Logical saying we need shooting. So let's let our best 3-point shooter go. Most likely Fred VanVleet is here based on just shooting, let alone the rest of what he does. I don't even think Fred's our best shooter. I think our best shooter is Gary. But both of them could go, and that may make things really tough. But this is the thing. Listen to me real quick. Coaches, when they come into a team and they inherit players from before, they can see the body of work from before and what worked and what didn't. But the coach really is the creator of a new type of system and a way of doing things. In some ways, you got to look at what you're working with and really make the system around that. Now, one of the biggest faults of Nick Nurse and Nate Bjorkgren is that these guys like to make a system and try and make the players fit to the system. And that's the big problem. That was a big problem for us on the down low that people don't realize is that they were very strict about the system they wanted to play, especially that defensive run around. And it wasn't really catered to the personnel they have. And that may be part of the reason why the Raptors didn't exactly work right. Well, I'd like to see a coach that comes in and assesses the players, the starters and the bench, and figures out how they can best use the players' talents in a system catered towards the players. Instead of the system, the players have to cater to the system. Let's cater the system to the players. And in some ways, you can get much better results, even if you don't have the best jump shooters, if you have a certain system like that. So I do think we need an overhaul with our shooting. In some ways, Mike, they say that, you can get better shooting sometimes if you don't let the people that are shooting, not shooting well, shoot anymore, and you let other people step into those shoes and take those shots instead. So, no Fred or Gary on our team next year may mean more Joe Wieskamp. It may mean more of other really good shooters that we didn't get to see that are in our system coming up because those guys were taking the shots instead. Now, I know that a lot of the Fred hate has been like, don't let Fred shoot all the time. Let other people shoot it. So, well, we get to test this and see if that's a big deal. But I get what you're saying. It's kind of like dumb. Why would you jump off a trapeze with no net? Is what it sounds like when you're saying like what you're saying. And I agree, it is a little scary and it is a little bit of like, yikes, how can we lose our two best shooters when that is our weakness and what we really need more of this summer? Well, I don't know. Let's do some magic, Bobby and Masai, and see what happens. Otto Porter Jr. showing back up may help with this too. Let's see. Cool Cat saying with the CBA, we will only be able to pay 3 stars. That's Pascal, OG, and Scotty. Fred has options on Suns, Orlando, and Clippers. should have accepted the trade deadline offer in Chicago. Yes, he has a couple of suitors and a couple of places that would fit for him. Chicago's in flux. They're going to probably break up their big three of Levine and DeRozan and Vucevic this summer. So there's going to be a lot of movement in every kind of which way. And who knows where guys are going to land and end up when the whole carousel of moving everybody around happens. We may get some very interesting people coming here. Like, what if they flip? What if Portland flips? I know they don't want to get rid of Lillard, but what if we had Lillard on our team all of a sudden? That would be so crazy if Damian Lillard was a Toronto Raptor next year all of a sudden. This is the kind of stuff we can extrapolate and think about, and it's not totally unrealistic because the NBA is so unsettled right now. There's people like Giannis, Luka, Dame Lillard. These people could all move teams this summer. I know it sounds crazy to say Giannis Antetokounmpo, but there are certain weird things happening with these superstars where they may want to leave their teams. And it's very different. Luka may want to leave the Mavericks partly because of Kyrie. I don't know. We'll have to see how it all goes. Top of Top saying, I told y'all from time Fred is about to his bag in himself. He ain't trying to help the Raps out with the sign and trade like Lowry did. That is one of the main reasons up 20 we lost to Chicago. Bet on yourself. I mean, I'm not that cynical about Fred. I think he does have the best intentions and he is trying to help the Raptors. It's just that he has to be really smart about the summer and think about his family, obviously. And if he can get the most money from somewhere else, well, then that may be what he is motivated by. I hate hearing that, but in some ways, I don't fault him for it because, NBA careers are short and you only get a certain amount of years to make that money and you got to do it while you can. He is probably in one of the worst positions he's ever been in his life, where he really does feel a strong loyalty to the Raptors, and it is home, and he cares about our team so much. There's no question on that. It's really like where he has to think about this, and in some ways, it doesn't line up right for him to get in the sweet spot this time and get an amount that is comparable to what he could get in other places. And that's part of why everybody understands this. Now, if I wouldn't fault him if he goes to another team to take more money. Other people will get mad at him and stuff like that. It's his life. Let him do what he wants. But in some ways, I'd be sad about it. But I'm not going to be like, I'm told you so. I said it all along. He's just money hungry. Nah, let's not be like that top of top. It's not worth it. It really isn't. All these players, to a degree, do care about money. And in some ways, there's no reason to single out Fred just in particular about this situation. We'd love to have him stay. But if that option is the money, I'm not going to sully him like I'll sully Nick in this situation. This situation with Nick is totally different than the one with Fred. Fred's always going to be a legend. He's always going to be in good place with us, no matter what. And if he goes to another team this summer, I'll be sad about it, and I won't diss him. It's just that this is the natural progression of things. Now, if he says bad things about Toronto and he does some crazy shit, yeah, then it could change my opinion about him. But he's pretty gold with me, and he's a made man. And even if he leaves our team this summer, he's still a legend to me and still an important Raptor. And I will put respect on his name no matter what. So, Nameless is saying, I'm really starting to believe Scotty when he said, OG's my favorite player. He's not kidding, Broham. No, it's true. They really are very close and good friends. And that's good. We need these guys to be as close as possible. That may be part of the sad part of it is that maybe Fred is not as close in that linkage with Scotty and OG and, even some ways Pascal and the other guys. I don't know. Fred's so weird. Like, I feel like in his case, he's had to be like the mature person on the team. And in some ways he's not as cool because of that. And that makes it hard for him to bond as closely with other people because he's kind of like the old dad on the team. And that, that may have been part of the problem. It's like, and I don't like that people may have been like putting him out that way, but it's only because he's serious. He's a serious person. He always has been. And he like wants them to be all business. And it may be that some of the approach of some of the younger guys is a little more casual and a little more fun and playful. And Fred's not all about that garbage. And maybe that there's a little bit of a conflict of approach to how they do things in that way. In some ways, I respect Fred's approach way more than the casual, goofy one. And I don't want more of that. I'd like to have more of Fred's approach on the team in some ways, because that's the approach that Jimmy and Kyle have. And that's what the one that wins you stuff. And yeah, that's the thing I want to know. MSJ saying we need a pure shooter. Look at Murray last night. A team needs an outside shooter to do anything in the NBA. I also think the picking of the All-Stars needs to change back to as it was. Yeah. So you like that they're talking about doing that again. It's just smart. It just makes sense. It's broken right now. You need to fix it. Go back to what worked, NBA, with the All Star game. Yeah, I agree with this. If we could get just like if we had a primary really good shooter, like main guy, like I'm saying, if Lillard was on our team, that would probably fix things really quick, like that. If the trade was Siakam for Lillard, I would really seriously consider it because that is a whole like just fixing a whole bunch of problems with that guy being our number one. Seriously, Damian Lillard would like just that switch, one for one. Siakam for Lillard would make a huge impact on our team. Now, we've said Siakam doesn't seem like he's the guy that is going to get moved because our franchise is built around him. But I'm saying that move would seriously make that improvement because he's that kind of guy like Murray. Shere Khan saying, from what I'm hearing, Raps are into Wallace and George in the mid draft, Black in high draft range, and Jackson Davis in the late first round range. Masai covering all the bases, maybe additional picks. No number three, please. Yeah, so Shere Khan's not about trading up. Yeah, just doing the research just in case there is a draft day trade or something like that. I don't think they're going to do a whole lot. I think they'll just stay at 13 and they'll take one of those names that you're talking about. Maybe Kaysen, maybe Keontae. I don't know. We'll see, Shere Khan. Those are my two favorites so far. Those two names right there that you named there. But I'm not worried about high draft or like late first round because are we going to be picking there? Why would we be picking there? Let's just take the 13, one guy, one pick, and bring them into the fold and start developing them. It's like Mike has said, we only have a certain amount of positions on our team, roster spots. Why pick like five guys? Like, why trade and get like three lower picks when you just really want one really good pick, and that'll be the 13th pick, and that's it. Mike's saying the CBA says you can't have three max guys, which we never had. Even in 2019, Kawhi and Gasol made maxes. Lowry never made a max. We're fine. Siakam and Scotty should be the only ones getting maxes from us. What about OG, Mike? That's the thing. Maybe his max is a certain level. They're all different levels and different timing. I don't know. We'll have to see how this all works out. Once again, this is more your expertise. And this kind of stuff makes my brain start going rolling in my head. I'm like, my eyes glaze over. This kind of stuff. G saying Murray in his college years was shooting 41% from three. It has translated to the NBA. Buffkin in his second half of his season shooting 40% from three and 50% from the field. He is thin, but maybe one to watch for two. That's Kobe Buffkin. Yeah, I think that's his name, right? Kobe. Okay, that's what I'm saying. The shooting in the college can translate like Jamal Murray. And that's what we need. That's what we need. We need a guy like Jamal Murray, that's for sure. Fun guy saying, I'd rather keep Fred and OG than Siakam. I've seen a team of Fred and those boys without Siakam, and they were damn well good. Siakam low key hurting us. We need to move on. Fuck recent moves. Wins matter. Listen, I'm not trying to upset you. I'm just reading by what I'm seeing on the team. And all signs are pointing that Siakam's our dude. And he's not going anywhere. As much as people think that's the quick fix. Well, I just explained a trade where we trade him straight up for Dame Lillard. I'm sure you'd love that deal. So, I mean, it's not that I'm against moving Siakam. I'm just going by what the feel is around the team and the evidence that we're getting presented to us that Mike and I and Monique were seeing. And this is how we feel, like how it looks. Pirtle re-signs with us, and that means probably that Siakam's around. Rico Hines being around. This means, they wouldn't have drafted Koloko probably with his connection to Cameroon if they were going to get rid of Siakam like a year later. So there's different signs that show that Siakam really is ensconced and he is just our dude. Shere Khan saying almost 30 people watching on a Sunday. Let's give Raptor Freak family some love by smashing that like for the algorithm. Thank you, Shere Khan. I appreciate that sentiment. And Isaac saying at G, Joker is also an insane passer. That helps. You see Jokic bringing the ball up the court in crunch time. It's so crazy. Yeah, that's cool. I love that. He's really talented. He's crazy. I love the old pictures of young Jokic and like when he's a little fat kid. And there's like pictures of him and he's like got a whole bunch of Doritos around him. So I'm like, this is the dude who's cooking LeBron right now. It is kind of hilarious to see where he's come from to get to where he is now with his body physically. I mean, he didn't look like an NBA athlete when he was a little kid. He just looked like an everyday little kid that you see around here in the convenience store hoarding snacks or something like that. That's what he looked like. Seriously, it's hilarious. Cool Cat saying refs tried to have Lakers and Celtics win. Credit Denver and Miami to not allow the games to slip away. Yeah, that's the thing also is they pressure tested them in the crunch times late. There have been close games, but Denver and Miami have known what to do and stayed steadfast, stayed executing. They didn't get in their heads, oh, the refs are helping them or anything like that. No, they said, we're still going to win. We don't care. We're that badass. And I really do appreciate that kind of stuff. This is true. If they could have had their way, they'd have the Lakers and Celtics winning right now. Well, in some ways, that's not what's supposed to be the NBA, and you could have gotten them to this level. But now we're seeing the real teams that really are winning teams are winning right now, Miami and Denver. So yeah, this is really interesting. I really do believe that to win in the NBA today, you got to beat injuries, you got to be the best team, and you got to beat the refs also. G is saying Joker is an elite passer for sure. He's in that build like Sabonis, Arvidas Sabonis, Vladi Divac, so many great passing centers in the history of the NBA. Mark Gasol, sure. You know, Jokic is in that ilk of those guys for sure. Monique is saying, thanks, TSN and CEBL, for the partnership. Something for me to watch. Reminder, they start this week, May 26th. Okay, here's a news alert from Monique Lawrence. The CBL is going to start playing soon, and the games will be on TSN Plus, y'all. You can watch them on the app. I'm not even sure if they're going to be on TV, Monique, but they will definitely be on their TSN app. So we'll have to see if they actually show them on television also. CBL, Canadian Elite Basketball League, starting up this week. Scarborough Shooting Stars, let's go. Let's go, Scarborough. Yeah, I'm all about it. Isaac saying, how do you AD out of the paint? Joker shoots 50% from three and plays point guard. Yeah, listen, in some ways, Nicola's defense is actually getting a little bit of shine in this series. He's not really a super impressive defensive player, but he's better than people give him credit for. And we're starting to see a little bit more credit for his defensive play in some ways with some of the stuff that's gone on with him and Anthony Davis. So I like this because he isn't just like an offensive machine. There is defensive aspects to him that help. He's not necessarily a shot blocking center kind of guy, but he can block shots and is kind of grounded to the ground, but he's a big body. He can still do things on the defensive end that are very helpful to the Nuggets and absolutely essential for them to win. Let's see. G saying, this is why I want Scotty to follow more of Joker's journey as a point forward. He doesn't need to be a point guard to use his court vision, and it keeps him closer to the net to use his size. Yeah, I like the high post or the low post for Scotty to pass out of. Anything like kind of looking like Marc Gasol when he was on the Raptors with some of that stuff up near the top of the key. Ooh, Scotty can do that kind of stuff and look real good. But so can Pirtle. Pirtle's really good at that spot too with the passing also. So we've got options with that kind of like big guy passing at the high post with Pirtle or Scotty. And there's other guys too that probably do a bit of it too. Cool Cat saying the proof is laid bare that Coach Nick Nurse cost us this season. Our 41-41 record is an achievement given Nick Nurse's BS. Pascal was pleading publicly for the team to stick together and was hurting him too. We saw the depression and how it wore on Siakam in the middle of the season. I was like, what is wrong with Siakam? I was really worried about him. And well, he was just not very good at hiding his dismay at how the team was falling apart internally, and that he was really depressed about it. He took it the hardest, it seems like, in some ways. That says something to me, that he really does have a passion and cares about how we do. Maybe the nonchalantness of some of the other Raptors in that whole situation worries me in reverse. The fact that Siakam was actually really feeling it deep in his soul says a lot. So, yeah, I blame Nick Nurse for this season thoroughly. Nate Bjorkgren and Nick Nurse were a bad thing for our team. It all started going downhill when Nick let Nate come back from Indiana. That it was okay last year because we won a lot and it could be hidden up. But when you lose and things aren't exactly right and they're a little toxic, they get worse. And that's what happened. I'm pretty sure we got in those bad losing parts of the 6-game losing streak in November. And then all of a sudden, the ugliness starts rearing its head. Maybe Nate Bjorkgren's not so nice behind the scenes all of a sudden. And everybody's like, Nate is such an asshole. And Nick just lets him do whatever he wants. He doesn't keep him in check. He's just like, oh, he's my friend. Well, if you don't like what Nate's saying, then there's something wrong with you. There's something weird with that. There's something weird with that. And when the team kind of has the wheels come off because they're losing, well, the really bad parts where there's people maybe against each other show up. And I don't think it was ever the players against each other. I really do think it was Nate Bjorngren and Nick Nurse not like being really smart and sensitive to how they were acting around the team and what was going on. And yeah, it really did cost us things. And then we still had a chance to do something in the postseason, but he absolutely squashed it. If it was like a lit cigarette on the ground, Nick Nurse put his foot on it and stomped it out and made sure it was out. That is how I feel about how he treated the end of the season. He stomped our fire out himself. And I hate him for it in some ways. I really do. I love him for like most of his career with the Raptors. But last year, I hate him for last year. I seriously do. I hate him for last year. Nameless is saying Nick Nurse out here disrespecting the fans and the country. Don't ever disrespect us like that, dog. You out your rabbit ass mind. Listen, he's still got to coach Team Canada. He's still representing us. Maybe that's why he decided. Like somebody said this when I was talking about this before. Maybe he hasn't said anything to City of Toronto because he doesn't really feel like he's leaving because he's still coaching Team Canada. Those are totally different, separate things, Nick. You got to take care of us with this, especially since you're still tied to Team Canada and you're going to be coaching our teams this summer. You don't want Raptors Nation to hate you because of this. We root for Team Canada also. So in some ways, it's not the same. You can't say, "Oh, because I'm still the coach of Team Canada, I don't need to say goodbye to Toronto." No, you do. And in some ways, you're not understanding this. And if that's your logic for why you didn't make a statement out, is because of your linkage to Team Canada still, it's a bullshit reason. You really shouldn't be going on that because there's totally different fan bases for the Raptors and for Team Canada. Sure, they overlap in a lot of different ways, but there's some people that are not Raptors fans that are very much for Team Canada basketball. But there's other people that don't give a shit about Team Canada and they're very much just care about the Raptors. And these are people that don't like you in some ways in that way. So you still got to represent us. So in some ways, you need to get right with Raptors Nation, Nick. Logical saying Lex, saying Nick Nurse gave up and ruined the season. Then after that, you want him to not be mad. I think the part about saying he gave up is not right. Everyone tried this year. It just wasn't working. He did, Mike. Listen, and I've been a coach before. I've coached in seasons. And if you decide that you're not very happy with the season, you just want to check out, well, I know what that looks like. Seriously. And that's what this is. He checked out. In fact, I think he checked out as early as December. And he was really kind of just going through the motions, being half-assed that whole time. And the really bad thing is like, listen, he was a defeated man in Philadelphia. That was the whole thing. Like I described it, it's like, all right, if you're roughhousing with somebody and they get you in a pin move and they got your arm up in your back and you're like, ow, 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 uncle, 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 and you're like tapping out. It's what he did. Is basically this season was so uncomfortable for him and so difficult for him as a coach that he like tapped out, like he gave up. And that's really what happened. Seriously, Mike, you don't think he gave up? He did. He did not give the same kind of effort that he had in previous years in this season with his coaching. If he was distracted because of personal issues, if there was other kind of things that he wasn't happy about or whatever it was, the fires weren't getting put out. They were continuously just burning and he wasn't improving things. That's a part of it also with coaches, that they go and take care of business before they get worse. Well, Nick was not doing that. He obviously had huge problems with the team since November, and he wasn't getting anywhere to fixing things or bridging those problems. So, yeah, it's a fail. Nick, you can say all this all you want and defend him. I know I'm right. He gave up on our team, and that's why the team didn't. They followed his lead, and they looked awful in that last game because of his poor leadership. It really was. Like in the third quarter, when the Bulls were coming back on us in that playing game, he just sat there. He didn't care. He saw them coming back. I'm telling you, I watched him. Nick. Nick was sitting there just like, oh, okay. The Bulls are coming back. He didn't get up out of his ass until it was too late, and the Bulls were already going to beat us. He finally stepped up out of the chair in the fourth quarter. After the whole third quarter of that playing game, they were getting beat down, and he was just letting it happen, just passively sitting there. So, no, I'm going to disagree with you harshly on this. Nick gave up, and he did ruin the season. I'm sorry. That's just how it went. It is really like that. And like he's mad because he thought he had such pride that he was just like untouchable. Well, he found out he wasn't, and that's why he's mad now. It's like he wasn't mad because of anything else. He was mad because he lost his job. That's why he's mad right now. Jimmy's saying Nick in a way was thrown under the bus. The front office was trash for the last few years. I watched the players shit the bed, and everyone thinks everything will be better now. Laughing my ass off. Going to be rough. All right, Jimmy, I'm going to not agree with you here. I'm going to disagree with you here. He was thrown on the bus to a degree, but he deserved it. Seriously. In some ways, I was questioning what he was doing the whole season. It seemed like he was not coaching fully. He was making poor decisions. We lost a lot of close games that we could have won if he had just done a better job. You can say the front office was trash, but I don't agree with that. In fact, I think that Nick Nurse has been trash since the championship year. He did really good the next year, and they had the best record. He had 2 really good years the first 2 years he coached. Then they had to go to Tampa. And then in Tampa, he did the best he could with that situation. And honestly, I'll give him a lot of credit for that one. So I'll say 3 really good years, even though Tampa was such shit. And then the first year back here last year, that season was good because things were happy and positive and cheery. But when things went wrong, we see how it happened and how things went this year. So he deserves this. We're not throwing him under the bus. He disregarded what Masai asked him to do this season. He sabotaged our team. He cut wins on our win-loss. Like, we could have won more games this year if he had coached us full effort. Seriously, full effort he would have. And you can say the players shit the bed, but the players weren't put in situations to succeed. And often that is very much the coach's fault. So I think we are going to be better without Nick Nurse around our team. Seriously, I really do feel like that he's been kind of saddling us down this year in particular. Maybe in past years, he really buoyed us up and pushed us. But right now, he was part of the dark cloud hanging over our team. He was part of the bad energy. Trust me, he really was. Fun guy saying nameless. I swear I couldn't breathe, laughing my ass off. Guy said your rabbit ass mind. I'm done. Why so serious? Your rabbit ass mind. Maybe he did get rabies. I don't know. Maybe that's why Nick Nurse has been so crazy this year. Maybe he got bit by an animal and nobody saw it, and his brain had rabies in it, and that's why he's acting so crazy this year. I mean, that could be true. I mean, who knows? Maybe he did have rabies this year. I mean, I don't know. You're done on that. It's kind of funny. MK saying, seems like our team had 2 sides, and now we're purging one side. There's no reason why we should lose Fred. I'm reserving judgment on Nick. I want to hear his side before I throw him under the bus. I want to hear his side too. And I think it is very important for us to hear what he has to say about all this stuff. But it's going to be very interesting to see what he says. All right, no more comments, guys, because I want to get out of here at a certain point, and I got to go do something. So I'm going to finish up everything that you guys are saying. So no more comments, please. All right, so much good stuff you guys are saying. I want to make sure. Okay, where was I on this? Oh, wow, there's a lot of comments today. Hang on. Where am I? Wow. All right. Yeah, definitely no more comments. You guys have very much filled it up. Okay, there's where I am at. I don't know if the 2 sides are completely purged. Some people are saying that Nick and Fred were on the same side, and it's like them against everybody else. So in that way, then it's like if Nick and Fred both leave, then maybe we're purging one side. Because I do feel like that may be right, that it was Fred standing with Nick and trying to bridge them with the coach still. And in some ways, he became a casualty partly because of that. I mean, it seems like that may be part of it. M. Jones is here. Good to see M. Jones. It's been a bit. One of the Raptors Freak originals, M. Jones. Good to see you. Sup, Lex? See, with Nurse going on like this, kind of makes you think if Casey was just in his beef with him, and really he's the more stand-up guy because Casey caught flack. No, I've always thought that. In some ways, I didn't like the way Casey got fired, and I didn't like the way Nick stepped in this spot. And I always kind of like stood up for Casey in some ways. I know people may have dissed Casey at different times, but Casey has been the stand-up guy the whole time, and he's even proved it since in certain ways. So yeah, I don't know. In some ways, I didn't trust Nick Nurse right from the start because in some ways it's unscrupulous to just kind of come up underneath the coach and take their job when they just won Coach of the Year. There's a little bit to all that. Nameless saying MJ, great point. Yeah, yeah, I see that too. Okay, Monique saying happy birthday, Fred Jr. Officially 4. You know what? That's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna do a Monday moment tomorrow, and we're gonna center it around Fred Jr. and his role in the team and what he did to help us when he was born, and just celebrate his birthday. So tomorrow, a Raptor Freak Monday moment. We're gonna celebrate Fred Jr.'s birthday a little bit and give him some shine. We still love you, Fred. No matter what happens this summer, like I said, you're a Raptor legend for sure. And you're always going to be valued in Toronto. Trust me. Some people may not value you as much as I do, but I value you. And the real ones do know who you are and what you mean to the Raptors. So hopefully you will still be a Raptor. But just in case, we're going to give some shine to your youngster tomorrow on the Raptor Monday memory moment. It'll be about all about Fred Jr. tomorrow, y'all. We'll talk about him a little bit. Let's see. Mike saying logically, if you think about the process of Nick leaving based on the issues Nick had, I think it took a player to report to Masai about how things weren't getting done. Fred was on point with the issues. It doesn't just take that, Mike. You can look at it all from the outside and see it. Seriously, he showed his whole hand to me in Philadelphia. Seriously, he showed me everything I needed to know about Nick, that he was weak, that he gave up, that the season was too pressurized and hard on him, and he made a misstep vocally by what he said. Coaches can't do that. It's really, really dumb. You got to watch out in press conferences. In some ways, Nick is too jokey and too casual in the press conferences already. I want him to be more like Michael Malone. In some ways, he was self-promoting himself all the time. And in some ways, he didn't put shine on the players as much as I would have liked him to. I don't know, whatever his coaching style was, he's kind of a jerk to the players in some ways. And maybe that's the way he tried to motivate them. I don't know. I don't know enough. But yeah, man, it's annoying. It's very annoying. MSJ saying, I see a Raptors signing of Fred as a mistake in 2 years' time. In my opinion, his game is on the downturn, and a long-term contract will become an anchor in the future. That may be part of what Masai and Bobby are looking at, that they don't want to pay him too much because they may kind of know how his career is trending. Yeah, that could be true. G saying, I cannot see Fred going to Orlando. He wants to compete. I think the front office is focused on coach and draft, and then they will get to Fred and Gary's contract situation, sign and trade, etc. I think the order of that is right. I think that the coach is the first thing. We need to have a coach before the draft because we need to consult them before the draft. So we should have a coach before the draft. And then after the draft, maybe we start hearing more about the contract situations with the players. Like Fred and Gary. I think that's the right order, G. I think you're right. Shere Khan saying giving Fred 4 years at 120 million is really risky for the Raptors due to him being a small guard with injury and slump histories. Best deal would be a 4-year, 95 to 100 million. 2-year deal with 50 to 60 million with player option can be a compromise. Well, we'll just see how it all goes with them. We may be delightfully surprised about how things go with Fred, and this is all hot air and noise and stupid. I hope I'm wrong and that he is staying with the Raptors. I really do. I want Fred to stay here. I really, really do. Don't get me wrong, but I'm also kind of riding the wave of the current affairs and the current things that are going on around the team and what I'm seeing. Nameless is saying, I just hope we don't get all unorthodox and go off the charts with our coach selection like Bruno Caboclo. We're not going to get Bruno Caboclo to be our coach. Listen, if they get some young hotshot we've never heard of, it will be for a very good reason. And they will be kind of like having an effect like Nick Nurse. If it's a no-name coach, it will be somebody who will kick ass. Masai and Bobby aren't going to take a risk with somebody who's not going to be like good. Charles Lee, Chris Quinn, all these youngsters that are coming up on other teams, they're going to, if they can pick one of those guys, it is because they very much are ready to make the next step and be a successful NBA head coach. Otherwise, they're not going to mess around with those names. I really do believe that they're holding on to like Adrian just in case. And if we don't get a suitable coach that they like, they're going to put Adrian Griffin in as our head coach for next season. Watch. He's like the backup plan. I'm pretty sure about this because he hasn't fully been disconnected from the Raptors for sure. Now, he has the option to go ahead and take one of the other jobs as one of the other teams offer him the job. But I think he's our contingency just in case. If we don't get some of these big names or something happens, Adrian could very well be our head coach next year just to be safe. And I don't mind that strategy. It's smart. because just in case things go a certain way, well, we need somebody who will be somewhat familiar, and he could be pretty good. And we know that he fits with the guys with personality and stuff. So he could be a very safe choice just in case we don't get somebody bigger named or something like that, or more impressive. And it may be tougher because there's more teams competing with us now. So we'll have to see. Cool Cat saying, I think Sergio is our first choice. If not, I want to see someone who has never been a head coach before, a young assistant coach with innovative approach and energy. Yeah, I like Sergio because of his familiarity with us, and he'd be great. I'm not really into the other idea though that you've got Cool Cat. I don't want to be the experimental team because we're the Raptors. We get slighted, and a rookie head coach is not always a good idea to have in Toronto. Our history of having new coaches that have never coached before has not gone well for the most part, other than Nick Nurse. You can think about Kevin O'Neill or Jay Triano, or even the early history with our team. And I just rather have somebody more established. Getting Lenny Wilkins and coming in to be our coach at the Raptors at that time was a really, really good get because he had a lot of clout. He had a lot of experience and a lot of respect around the entire league for his whole entire career. And that's something we really kind of need because the Raptors need respect. We got to have a coach that kind of has it built into them when they come in. Whether it is Sergio has respect built into him just because of his resume, but some of these young guys don't know who they are. They're nobodies. And those refs may be very unkind to them. And we can't afford that. Top saying, no Doc Rivers, please. These playoffs show we need way more depth. Only way to do that is trading OG or Siakam. That's not the only way to do it. But that may be the easiest way to do it, but there are other ways to do it. We could still figure it out. Anya's here. Good to see Anya also here. Cowboy, Wallace George Bilal, Kulabi Bilali, who? Check him out from France. Also Buffkin in that order. Okay, that's your order of draft prospects. Wallace George Bilal, Koulibaly. Speaking of France, Popovich flew right on over there to see Wemby right after the draft lottery. You see, they're already getting to him and they're getting him ready. His kid was a Spurs fan his whole life. This is destiny. This is exactly how it should be. Apparently, he's going to get Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker all as mentors, very much involved in his young career. This kid's going to be a Grand Slam success. I'm telling you. If he has these people around him and mentoring him, and he's in that organization with Popovich, we need to get ready for the Spurs to be an emerging power once again in the league. And I'm all for it. I love that team so much. They are my West Coast team. I cannot hate on them. And if a powerful new player like Victor Wembanyama is going to be on my other team, I'm very happy about it. In fact, I may annoy some of y'all because I am going to be very much talking the Spurs up at times, especially when they succeed. I'm not going to be hating on it because I want them to kick ass. And I want Victor Wembanyama to be everything that he can possibly be in this league as far as his potential. We'll have to see how it goes. Cool Cat saying building around Siakam is also building around Scotty. I think Scotty is our point guard in training. Shooting guard is the role we need filled. Yes. Yeah, I think this is accurate. I like that. Nameless is saying, agreed, Cool Cat. They are just waiting to give the keys to Scotty at point guard. It's obvious to me, but the draft will answer that question for sure. The draft and free agency. We'll have to see. Like I said, there could be a sign and trade deal with Fred where we get a point guard in reverse that will kind of be the stand-in for Fred this year. And we'll see if Scotty's ready to take a higher percentage of the point guard duties this season. Like last year, it didn't work so well. But in some ways, I blame Nick Nurse for that too. That he didn't really he tried it early on the season, then he went away from it. He didn't try it as much later on in the season. And that's what I'm saying. There's certain things Nick just didn't do to develop these youngsters right. Koloko, Delano, Scotty. There are things that he could have done better to help them. Let's see. G-Sin, I don't want Scotty as a point guard until and unless his shot improves dramatically. Shooting 29% from three makes the team very easy to defend. Play zone and clog the paint on Pascal, OG, and Jakob. Yeah, this is a good point. And I agree. I don't think Scotty's ready to be just the straight up point guard for us. That we do still need somebody to kind of do it. Even if it's Pascal, I wouldn't mind Pascal playing point forward for a little while because he does okay at that and he has more experience with it. Mike is saying, gee, facts. He would get the Ben Simmons treatment again, like everyone else, everyone did in the earlier in the season, pushing Fred Van Vliet to main point guard, back to point guard. Yeah, that was just kind of confusing and it didn't totally work right. And of course, the timing of Siakam's injury at the beginning of the year hurt all that. We were maybe kind of trying to figure it out and get it going, but when Siakam went out, that all went out the window. And we are just treading water trying to compete and do well. And that's why Fred had to start shooting again. So yeah, there's a little bit of like, oh man, I wonder. We'll have to figure this all out. We'll just have to see where Scotty does with his development this summer. Could very well be that he's working on specific skills that allow him to be a better point guard in the league next year. Space Cadet saying Scotty isn't a point guard, great passer, but doesn't have the ball handling skills or ability to run a team yet. Should not push anything. Let him develop naturally. I can get behind this in a lot of ways too. I kind of just like to see him be a post threat and just be like a really like a go-to guy instead of being the distributor because in some ways he has so much fruit to bear from just scoring. And I want to kind of see how much he can score and how much he can fill it up. Like how many points can you score in a game, Scotty? Can you get a 40 or 50 point game if we really go to you like crazy? That's kind of some of what I want to see. Forget about him passing. I want to see him shooting. I want to see him take over and be the number one instead in some ways. And maybe Siakam's passing to him, you know? Isaac's saying the draft selection could be an indicator of direction. A draft day move may also make the most sense for the Raptors at the moment. Well, we'll just have to see. And yeah, it's going to tell us a lot who they draft. They better draft a shooter. If they don't draft the shooter, we just need a shooter. We need that so badly on our team right now. G saying they did this all season on them, play zone, clog the paint because they lagged off Scotty and Fred went through slumps. So spacing was bad. Exactly logical. Ben Simmons treatment. Well, in that ways, then we need to figure out, the coach needs to figure out better ways to cover that up or to utilize Scotty in a better position. Maybe he doesn't need to be playing guard until his field goal percentage goes up and he just needs to be down in the paint. And then that will solve a lot of this issue. Yeah, I mean, I can see this. This is totally true. They would lag off of Scotty because they didn't really respect him outside. And that meant extra coverage, making it harder on Siakam and other people. G saying Scotty is closer to a Kawhi, a Giannis, a Joker, and then a Curry, a Ja, or a Fox, in my opinion. I agree with this. I absolutely agree with this. He's more like a big guy than one of those guards. You know, is he like Magic, though? I don't know. He seems like he's more like Kawhi in some ways at this point. Cool Cat saying I should also add Fred Van Vliet should have also taken the team recommendation to get surgery like Pascal did. Now he is in a challenging scenario with the team. Yeah, that was something I didn't understand summer. We talked about on this channel. It's like as soon as we were done with Philadelphia, it was like I kept saying, well, now Fred's going to go get his surgery done, get it done now during the summer, and be ready for this season. Well, he never did that. He tried to heal it on his own. He did work in the pool with the heavy ball, and he didn't actually take a surgery. He rehabbed himself by himself during the summer, and that's how he dealt with it instead. Yeah, I don't know. Did the team tell him he should have taken the surgery? I don't remember them actually telling them that he should. I just remember I thought it was weird that he didn't take a surgery and he decided to just go through it on his own and rehab like that. That could have been a mistake. You're right. That could have been a mistake, Cool Cat. Name was saying, I don't think they're quite done with Vision 6-9. I think that they're just going to tinker with role definitions with everybody just as massive. I'm okay with this still. I don't think that 6-9 in itself is wrong by theory. It's just that we need the kind of skills in those 6'9" players that make up for it. It means you need more 6'9" guys that can shoot, is what it is. You get more guys that are that size, but they're really, really good outside shooters, then you can kind of make up for some of the deficiencies with our Vision 6'9" so far. So I think that's the biggest key to it. And I think you're right. I don't think they're quite done with it either. I think that partly we're already in it. We're already committed to it to a degree with the personnel that we have. And in some ways, we just need to fine tune it. It may be very much kind of like the Denver stuff we were just talking about. You tinker with it, you toy with it a little bit, and you make adjustments. You don't blow it up completely, and you get to the point that the Nuggets are at right now. And that's kind of what I think it is. You're probably right, Nameless. Mike saying the Fred Van Vliet, OG, Scotty, Siakam, Pirtle lineup works with OG scraping for the second guard position at the moment and swapping the guard playmaking duties with Scotty. Yeah, yeah, that lineup is interesting, and it was really, really good. It statistically was fantastic once we got Pirtle. But yeah, there's different issues. We got to figure it out. So you're talking about the spacing for the second guard position. Yeah, spacing needs to be figured out better with our team and just being on the same page. Once again, we need defined roles and more structure instead of just half-assed, like go play the play set, guys, and make it happen. We need them to be told how to make it happen in a more direct way. Monique is saying Nike took Josh shoes off the rack. Good going, Nike. It started with this. Michael Wilbon telling his son, you can't wear your John Morant shoes anymore. You're not allowed to wear them. You cannot endorse this dude anymore. He's an idiot. And I don't want you following him anymore. And then Nike just took his stuff off their website. So yeah, the signs are there. Ja, you are committing career suicide. That now your big, huge sponsor, Nike, is not even putting your product on blast, and maybe you're about to be cut from them, and you're not even going to be having a contract with them. Monique saying Scotty is back to traveling somewhere hot. Yeah, Scotty is in Mexico, and that's good. I'm glad he's down there getting checking all kinds of different boxes this summer, different than he did last year. Last year, he really was around Toronto for a long, long part of the summer. Well, he's doing a little bit more all around in different places, and this is good. This is good. I'm glad to see him relaxing, and he looks strong. And it looks like once again, if he's putting in work, he's putting in muscle, he's putting in that weightlifting, and he comes back next season, he looks even bigger and stronger. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to see. Nameless saying maybe Nick Nurse was never on board with Vision 6'9". I don't know what it is. In some ways, Nick is a stubborn guy and he has an ego. And in some ways, it's like my way or the highway kind of stuff with him. And in some ways, he's maybe not as adaptable as we thought. That's some of the things I'm starting to wonder about him. I don't know. I watched so much about Nick Nurse last summer. I took his whole entire coach's course that he put on in Hungary. That was like 12 hours of listening to him lecture. And in some ways, his down home, folksy attitude and laughs and jokes kind of mask an egotism that he had inside of him that it was very destructive. That I wasn't totally like, I was just hoping he's just a swagger, like he's a champion coach. He's got a certain thing to him. But in some ways, his ego may have been his worst enemy in some ways and things. People have a big problem with him being so like pushing himself all the time, like him having his own apparel brand is kind of and then all this stuff with like his musicianship and like acting and all this kind of stuff. Most people were turned off by that. Some people were. Some people were like, oh, it's okay, it's cool. But in some ways, it's kind of a nod. Like, is Coach Budenholzer doing TV shows? No, probably not. Doc is doing TV shows and movies, obviously, because he was in that Bo Cruz movie. But Nick, in some ways, you got to wonder what is going on with him. What was most important to him? Is it feeding his ego? This fun guy saying, for years, I was against trading Siakam because I was so connected to him personally and attached. In these recent years, I favored the better of this franchise over that, and I'm ready to move on. I was saying that too at the beginning of this offseason. I was, but once again, I'm reading the writing on the wall. He's a part of our future. And even if we think that looks like the best deal, because I've thought that too, it's like we could trade Siakam for a number one on another team and we could have a totally different look and maybe have more success. I'm not disagreeing with you, fun guy. I'm just basically stating the facts of the situation and what it looks like around the team right now. We may disagree with Masai and Bobby on and Siakam, but we got to go with them because they're the ones making the decision. And that's how it is. Now, you want to say if he fails, and it doesn't work out, I was right. We should have got rid of him a long time ago. You can do that. You have that right. But I'm not. It's not that I disagree with you. In some ways, I agree with you. If we traded Siakam tomorrow for Dame Lillard, it would really shake this team up and make this team very interesting in certain ways. But in some ways, once again, I value our guys. I'm just like Masai. We have time invested in him. The value we build up in Fred and Pascal is worth so much because we made it from nothing. And in some ways, that's the value we either trade in to get value coming back, or we continue to garner all of the great things about it over and over again. All right, I think I got to go, guys. My dad is here. So I really got to run through these comments really fast. Let me go and lock the door real quick. Hey, you can come in. Come in, Dad. Come in. Come in. He's just sitting out on my front porch. You can come in, man. You can hear me. I know you're watching me. You're listening to me. He's listening to me on his phone. I can see him through the window. And you can just come in, Dad. Just open the door. It's okay. I'm still live, but it's all right. Don't worry about it. I'm just gonna read these like three more comments. I'm supposed to go work with him this afternoon, help him in the yard doing a bunch of stuff. So I gotta finish this up, y'all. I'm gonna finish this up right now. So let me just real quick. Sheer constant. I don't agree with that notion that the Raptors are in a bad place right now. Totally agree with you. We're in a good place. It just seems like we're in a bad place because it's confusing. 4 to 5 year window is understandable after a chip. Lakers took 10 years between chips in 2020 after they got one in 2010. Takes a lot to win. I love that comment. Sure, Khan being positive in a confusing spot we're in. G saying the Raptors photographer posted a photo of Serge. Is he coming back, or he may be doing something with or for the organization? Serge has been around Toronto a lot recently. I think, listen, I was at the WNBA game when he was there, and the ovation he got from our crowd was so warm, and I loved it so much. It was what he needed because he didn't really get the proper welcome back since the championship year with the COVID and the pandemic and stuff. He really loves Toronto. I think he opened his eyes to how much he's loved here. And if he's not associated with the team because he's not on a roster, well, maybe he will be around our team. Maybe we will hire him for a role. Maybe he will be on our team next year. I'm all for any of that. If he can take a little flyer on a small contract and just be the end of the bench, he can be on our roster. If not, if he's interested in being on the coaching staff in any kind of way, let's do it. Let's just get Serge Ibaka in the fold here in Toronto. Even if he just wants to set up shop and live in Toronto and operate in all the things that he does and all his ventures, that would be smart too. So I'm all about that for sure. All right, I've gone way longer than I thought I would today. I thought I was only going to do an hour, but y'all showed up in force and really gave me a lot to talk about. Space Cadet saying the people saying Raptors are in a bad place clearly never lived through the Kevin O'Neal, Sam Mitchell, Jay Triano, Dwayne Casey years. They're impatient. Exactly. Space Cadet, you're exactly right. They have no idea how bad it can be. Trust me, they have no idea how bad it can be. We don't want it to be like that. Knock on wood. All right, Dad, why don't you come in? You're just standing out there. He didn't want to come in here. I guess he's like a little shy to be on TV or something. Oh, those are other people talking. I know you saying something to me. All right, fun guy saying, thanks, Lex. Whatever we do, I'll be happy at the end of the day, anyways, because I gotta watch. I get to watch the Raptors play and hopefully winning basketball. Not at all for rebuilding. Hell to the no. Wins that matter. That's right. We don't want to tear it completely down. We're just tinkering, just like the Nuggets have done. And we'll be smart for doing it that way in the long run. And all the people that wanted us to destroy it all, you're going to look real dumb when we do finally turn it around and get things back in the right place. Mike's saying Fred's off of ball metrics are truly elite. Okay, yes, you don't want Fred to play 100% point guard, but a shooting guard with playmaking ability, he's well casted. Yeah, yep, I can get behind all that. Space Cadet saying Pascal's injury surgery was recommended. Fred's injury, it was an option. Fred chose to rehab it, and according to Masai, that probably bled into at least the first half of the season. Yeah, that's part of the reason why he didn't shoot very well right from the start of the season. That is true. G saying before injury and when he was more shooting guard last season, he was second in catch and shoot threes. All right, that's a good stat. Monique saying Camp 905 is back in 905. Send your kids. Gerard area or something. Yeah, if you want to take your kids to 905 camp, they have a basketball camp for the 905. Sheer Khan saying Scoot is getting the same hype as Green in last draft. Not sold on Miller either. Interested in getting more picks, maybe the Indiana pick or Orlando one before us. A late first round pick wouldn't hurt for depth. Yeah, I don't know if we need that extra person though. I really think about how many slots we have on the roster, and really kind of getting one rookie a year is smart for the Raptors. You just get one dude to kind of come in because even you see like somebody like Ron Harper Jr., they're on the fringes. And it's like if you get a later guy, they may not go anywhere. I'd rather just get that one dude and really focus on him, like Koloko and that kind of thing. But I don't know. We'll see if we get more people in different ways. I don't know. Let's keep going. G saying, I don't blame Fred for not doing that surgery. It can make things worse. There are other options to try first, laser, etc. Lonzo is an example of surgeries going wrong. Wiseman too. Okay, well, that is probably part of the factoring in it. He wanted to do the hard way. He did it his way. Mike's saying, will everyone say sorry when Fred signs for a weird contract again that helps us and is a fair amount? Last time we went through the same song and dance, and Fred didn't take the Knicks $25 million a year. I hope you're right, Mike. And seriously, I'll apologize to him for that. And I'll be very happy if that's what happens. Seriously, I have no problem with that. Mike's also saying he took 21 million and structured it to have cap space open for Giannis. Yeah, it doesn't sound like he's completely focused on the bag. His track record speaks to this, and Mike's exactly right. And I hope he continues to show that track record this summer also. Cool Cat saying Fred loyalty is not to the Raptors. His last contract, he wanted more money. He could not find a team that wanted to pay him what he wanted, so he re-signed with us. It's in his documentary. There is truth to that in the parlay documentary. The way it went down with Phoenix, they decided to go with Chris Paul at that time, and that was the big difference. If they had not taken Chris Paul, they might have gone with Fred instead. Fun guy saying, "Ew, bro! Wow, Lex, you know Dame is due for like 60 million a year, right? That's just atrocious. Whoever trades for Dame has to be on crack. He will cripple your franchise financially." Well, can you do things in the cap and go into the tax, and it's not a big deal? That's what I would say. I don't know. That's just an example. It would be that kind of move. I mean, that would be monumental, and we could win a championship with Dame Lillard alongside the guys that we have other than Siakam. Seriously, think about it. Just think about that mix and what those kind of things would happen with that. Mike is saying the Knicks leaked what happened. Fred told them he wasn't interested in the Knicks and their 25 million. Okay, good information. Cool Cat saying Pascal can be traded 1-for-1 for league's top 7 players. Isaac saying super teams ain't so super anymore. Teams with depth and flexibility be winning this year. Yeah, that's for sure. That's been the trend for a while. A big three does not win you championships. Logical saying, not gonna lie, if someone told me I gave up when I tried everything, I would be like, F you. You can't have it both ways. Okay, fine. You believe he gave up, but you can't have it both ways. Blame Nick and want him to lie and say, I don't have time right now to defend my stance on Nick Nurse right now. I've kind of gone over it ad nauseum, Mike. Isaac saying, I remember watching the way Phil Jackson coached the Bulls. He made sure the Judd Buechlers, Bill Wennington, and Jason Coffey played. Why Nick? Because you need to rest your starters. That's what I'm saying. Those role players on the Bulls had very important roles and they were utilized. Even if they weren't all around great super players, they were utilized effectively for their roles and in a way that really helped the team win. Mike saying, last thought, Lex, you said him not saying anything affects his future employability, but actually coaches see how we treated our championship winning coach and how we turned on him. That affects us too. Once again, Mike, everything the fans does doesn't matter. We don't matter. They don't look into this. They don't factor into their decisions. There's shitty fans with every fan nation. There's people doing this to everybody. Doc Rivers had the same treatment. Mike Budenholzer had the same treatment. Monty Williams had the same treatment. So there's no special indication that coaches care about that kind of stuff when they're making decisions about coming to teams. Now, the Emma Adoka thing is special just because of his special situation with what happened with him personally. Now, with those other guys, they're not looking like this. They know that there's going to be negative ninnies in every fan nation. So stop overemphasizing our importance. We are not that important in these factors. Let's just put it that way. Monique saying W stream all around. All aspects of the league today. Keep at it always. Thank you, Monique. And yeah, he's out there. I don't know. He won't come in. Why don't you come in? You can hear me. I know you're listening to me right now on the phone. I'm looking at you through the window and you are just standing there. I see you, Dad. You're right there. Why don't you just come in? He doesn't want to appear on the show, I guess. I don't know. I'm not going to put you on the camera. You could just come in and talk to me or something. I don't know. He just doesn't. I don't know why he's not listening to me. Monique saying Lexathon in full effect. I know I need to end this Lexathon right now, Monique. Yeah, all right, let's see. Mike saying, no worries, Lex, W stream. All the best, Mike. We'll pick this up again. I don't mind battling on you with the Nick Nurse stuff because it's important to talk about. It's a good debate. And it should be had. It should be talked about for sure. Denal saying W in the chat for Papa Lex. I just tuned in. Going out and hang out with him. I know. I want to see my dad, y'all. My dad needs a wrench. Yeah, maybe. All right, tomorrow, Monday Moment. Raptor Freak Monday Moment. Tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Please tune in. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And let's go Raptors. How about that? I'm going to get over here.